UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good Monday evening to you. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I also hope you did your homework. Remember, I asked you to watch Inside the Manosphere because we're going to be doing that as a phone-in this week. So I hope you did your homework. I did it. Anyway, moving on to tonight, of course, coming up at midnight, we have your chance to talk back. And I do want to talk to you about one of the biggest bugbears that I find in today's world, and that is the behaviour of other people's children. So we are going to be talking about that. Why is it that you can go anywhere in Europe and you see children out in restaurants and out in bars and out in the plaza, all behaving really, really well? What is it with British children that they can't even behave in a pub or a restaurant or a shop? So that's what I want to talk to you about at midnight. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. More and more establishments now are banning children, and I say power to them. That's what I say. The rest of the show, what we're going to be talking about, we've got Claire Muldoon in talking about the papers. She's going to be going through the papers for tomorrow. We're also going to be talking to a pub landlord about why they are wanting to ban children as well. And we're going to be talking about the Cobra meeting that took place this afternoon, and Keir Starmer talking about rising energy prices, because even if the war does end now, it's going to take quite a while to get things back to what we would call normal, if indeed that can happen. Talking of which, Donald Trump's military strategy in Iran seems to have undergone a U-turn, or a taco, possibly, today, after on Saturday the US president had given Iran 48 hours to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or he would go after Iranian power plants, civilian infrastructure. However, today Trump said that following talks with Iran, he was postponing his threats. Oil and gas prices fell as a result of his statement, but however, the Iranians are completely denying that any talks are taking place, calling it fake news, parroting Trump's own language back at him. A US ally, Israel, on the other hand, has launched wide-scale strikes on Iran this morning, while Tehran fired missiles at the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And Lebanon's president has claimed Israel is preparing for a ground invasion after it struck bridges in the country's south during its fight against Hezbollah. Also, Israel has declared that this war is not over. Not for them. They need another few weeks. So, with all of this disinformation, misinformation, potentially lies, what is going on? The strategy of this is more confusing than I've ever been on anything before. Well, to help me unpick this, I'm delighted to say that Major General Tim Cross, CBE, joins me now. He's a retired Army officer and a military logistics expert. Thank you very much indeed for joining me again. Great to see you. This denial of talks, there's this Trump saying, yeah, we're close to a deal, we've nearly got it done. Iran saying no such thing is happening. What is going on here, Tim, in your view?
Well, I think like most of us, I don't know, but I think messaging is important, and in today's world, particularly the way that messaging is conducted through social media, through the way that Trump communicates, but also in diplomatic terms. And I'm not surprised, really, that Iran would want to admit publicly that it's in talks for all sorts of reasons. People will interpret that in different ways. I also have to say that Iran, of course, was in negotiation with the US before February the 28th. And a lot of people in Iran would say, we don't want to talk to America because we don't trust them. But I would say, and my own view would be, that there is definitely conversations going on. Pakistan is being talked about, Turkey's been involved. I don't think the UAE or any of the Gulf states will be involved at the moment because they are being, they're being targeted by Iran. But I would suspect there are conversations going on. How serious they are is very difficult to tell. In terms of Ukraine, Trump's continually said that, they were having good talks with Putin, close to deals, et cetera, et cetera. None of that ever became apparent with any results at all, really. So my instinct is they are talking, but I would also say that I don't think we're anywhere near close to finding some sort of solution. The Straits of Hormuz are clearly a key issue here, and Iran has nothing else to hold on to, really, other than its ability to keep those straits closed, unless the US are prepared to put a lot of military effort into opening it. So that's Iran's trump card, and I think they will try and play that for as long as they can.
And just on that note, though, I was looking at the shipping that was going through today, and they appear to be taking a different shipping lane, some of the ships that are being allowed to go through. And that would seem a strategic move by Iran. Maybe that's a safer area. Maybe the other areas are mined, or anything that tries to go through the regular shipping lanes would be a target.
Yeah, I mean, the straits are about 39, 40 kilometers wide, and normally there are two shipping lanes, quite narrow ones, about 2 miles wide, that people go up and come back down again, if you see what I mean. And the Iranians have been letting through some ships from countries like China and India and so on. So they are, they're playing this very cannily, really. Whether they've opened up another shipping lane, which they've said they're not going to attack, and are telling certain countries that they can use it, I don't know, is the honest truth. But there's no doubt that they are playing this very cannily, as I say, and that they are allowing some ships through at certain periods. I mean, the US, basically, Trump has got to decide whether or not this is the key issue that he needs to ensure he's resolved before he brings this conflict to an end. My own view is, at this stage now, he may not have foreseen this. Who knows what he was thinking about 3-4 weeks ago. But for the Americans to walk away now without having got the straits open, undoubtedly will be seen to be, well, frankly, a defeat. Actually, I was finding myself thinking about this in the context of Suez the other day, 56, the Suez War of 56, which militarily, we, the Brits and the French and the Israelis, was very successful. But it was just lost diplomatically. The US, of course, didn't support us in that and basically forced us to withdraw. But militarily, it went very well. And militarily, this campaign is going very well for America and Israel. But if they don't solve the Straits problem, they will be seen to have failed, and Iran will be seen to have been, relatively successful, in my view.
It is interesting, though, isn't it, that Trump did say last week, at the tail end of last week, look, when I say it's over for us, and I'm going to leave you to sort out the Straits of Hormuz. We don't need them. So he's already indicated that one of his plans is to go, right, that's your mess now, sort it out.
Yeah, it is. But on the other hand, of course, he was seeking help to open the straits. All the language he was using last week. The bottom line is, I don't know where Trump's coming from. At the end of the day, he's trying to say these certain things, as I say, play different messaging, etc. And my own view is, as I say, I don't think he can walk away now from the straits. I just don't think he can do that. He might. I think, the Marines arriving in 5 days, that may be one of the reasons he's pulled back for a couple of days. This change of heart, if you like. Could he seize Karg Island? Could he use these US Marines to occupy some of the Iranian land on their side of the strait and seek out their missile systems and so on? All of that is doable. And the US are a very powerful military organization. So it's not as though it can't be done. It would be very tough, and it would take a long time. And there's no doubt at all that even if you were able to secure most of this and do a lot of damage to the Iranian capability of shooting missiles and drones and so forth into the straits, there would still be some that get through. I mean, we know for every 100 drones and missiles that are launched in the Middle East, 95% of them are shot down, but there's always some that get through. So even they're able to do that, will that give people confidence to send their tankers down through the straits? Is debatable. So he's got himself in a real mess here, I think.
There's also appears to be a real divide now between the US and Israel as to what the aims are for this war. They were in lockstep right at the beginning, but they appear now to have very separate agendas, and they don't appear to be actually even talking to each other on a military level.
Well, I don't think that's true, Petrie. I mean, I think allies. The only thing somebody once said, it was during World War II, I think, really. But the only thing worse than fighting with allies is fighting without them. At the end of the day, Israel and America are very close, and their military will be very close. Their intelligence work, etc., will be very close. That said, I don't think there's any doubt that Israel under Netanyahu does see this thing differently. I mean, we know from his own background, his own life, etc., that this is a 40-year program as far as he's concerned. He is determined to do as much damage to Iran as he possibly can. What is interesting for me is how much effort they're also putting in at the same time, fighting on a second front with Hezbollah in Lebanon. And I've been quite surprised, to be honest, the amount of effort they're putting into that, which is, you could argue is a bit of a distraction from what's going on with Iran. But
or Iran is the distraction so that they can do that to Lebanon and, of course, the West Bank.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons for that. I mean, is Hezbollah are still firing rockets in? I think, again, Israel, did a lot of damage to Hezbollah in the last couple of years, and they do see this as an opportunity of doing more damage. They won't destroy them, but, they can do a lot more damage. But I think although there are obviously differences between the US and Israel, I don't think it's as serious as people are playing. Personally, I may be wrong, but I think they're still working pretty closely together. And I think they still both want to do as much damage as they can to Iran. They want to make sure that they, degrade their military as far as possible. And I think they're both rather hopeful that all of this will result in some sort of regime change. I mean, the irony is we may see a regime change in America, of course, with November coming. And
yeah. Well, I think the Iranians said that they would go to peace talks if there was a regime change in America. So, they're both playing that game. The couple of interesting things, though. I mean, when Donald Trump was talking about bombing civilian infrastructure, I mean, there are rules against that in war, right? That's a war crime.
It is now. I mean, when you look at obviously World War II, our strategic bombing campaign, along with the American bombing campaign over Germany, indeed elsewhere, that we deliberately target their infrastructure. But after the war, with the changes that came about and so forth, that is now seen to be. I mean, like all international law, there's people interpret it in different ways, but to deliberately attack civilian infrastructure, certainly some people would argue, is a war crime. Now, that said, if you really want to bring Iran to its knees, in inverted commas, Kharg Island is a pretty good place to start. If I'm honest, I'm surprised, in one sense, they didn't do it, a week or two ago.
Well, Kharg Island, there's mention that he's going to use that as leverage to get the strait open. But there's also the Toms, isn't there? Those other two islands that originally belonged to Saudi Arabia, and there's talk about them handing them back to Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's all a bit of a mess in there.
Yeah, there's also 3 islands that used to belong to the UAE. Are we talking about 2 different islands here, I think? But yeah, there's talk of using those as bargaining chips, in inverted commas, if you like. I mean, going back to your original question, I think for the Marines to occupy Kharg Island and stop all Iranian oil exports would really hurt Iran over a period of time. Now, the knock-on effect of that on the civilian population, of course, many people would argue, is not the right thing to do, morally not the right thing to do. But the bottom line is warfare always takes you to places you don't want to go to, and always ends up with an awful lot of people being hurt. I mean, that's just the bottom line on it. So I'm not saying I think it's a great idea and it should have. I don't actually think it should have started in the first place. But if you're going to do this sort of thing, that's what you get drawn into doing.
And with these Marines arriving there at the tail end of this week, and there's 2 lots going to be arriving, so you're looking at a substantial number, 5,000 to 7,000, I think, is the estimate. Yep. Is that enough? Is that enough boots?
No, not to occupy. No, certainly not to occupy Iran. I mean, I've worked with the U.S. Marines, and they are a very capable bunch of people. I mean, let's be quite clear about that. Their MUs, their Marine Expeditionary Units, and their ability to do what they're called upon to do is pretty impressive. But that is not enough people to occupy a large chunk of Iran. But it's enough to occupy Kharg Island, and it's enough to set up some sort of basis, as I said, on the Iranian side of the Straits of Hormuz, and to conduct offensive operations against their missile sites and so on. But if it ended up as, having to spend a long time on the ground and try to occupy more territory, No, that's not enough.
The other question I wanted to ask you, Tim, is that Israel have now told us that Iran have the capability of striking the UK, and that we don't have the right sort of missile defences, but NATO does, right? We're part of NATO. That's the whole deal with NATO. They fill in the gaps that some people don't have. We have nuclear weapons, a lot of countries don't. So it's a kind of dovetailing effect. Are we at any risk from a missile coming from Iran, let's say into London, which I don't think they would bomb anyway, but...
Well, no, but I mean, the honest answer is, of course, there's a possibility. There's always a risk. One of the issues that I said in my last years in the military when I was serving, particularly in the run-up to the 2003 campaign, is that we have always assumed that we are operating from a safe home base, both here in the UK and in places like Cyprus and Gibraltar, and other places. And when I was doing some work in the run-up to the Iraq War, I was asking people, what is the defences for Cyprus like? Because it was going to be a major logistic hub for us to do what we were going to do. So we've always assumed the UK is safe. That is not the case today, not just from missiles, but from cyber and all sorts of other hybrid and asymmetric warfare. So it is possible. I don't think the Iranians have the ability to hit London yet. But, North Korea is developing all sorts of extended range of missiles. UAVs are able to travel longer distances. So, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that this would be possible downstream. But your point is quite right, that we're part of NATO. And for those missiles to reach us, they're going to have to cross over quite a lot of other people's turf. So, we would certainly, want to see them intercepting them. But actually, I have to say, too, that, not many of the NATO countries have got the sort of defences, certainly haven't got the sort of defences that Israel has got, or indeed Ukraine has developed over the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, our anti-missile defence is basically three destroyers, 2 or 3 destroyers, based in the English Channel, who would shoot down any incoming missiles. We need to do far more to set up missile defences in this country around our key infrastructure and our key military bases. There's no doubt about that. People have been saying that for quite a long time, but it's expensive and it takes time. So yeah, and at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, can you rely on your NATO partners for this sort of thing? Ultimately, it's our own, we've got to be prepared to look after ourselves.
Finally, I want to talk to you about the impact this is having on Russia, because I don't think enough is talked about the Russia-Ukraine war at this point, because we're all distracted. But this is a huge blow to Zelensky, isn't it? And the Ukrainian people who've been fighting so brilliantly, and they've taken back so much land recently. But now Russia has got a renewed, deeper pocket. They know that the West isn't watching them anymore. And Zelensky is worried about getting his weapons stock replaced because everybody's using theirs in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I was in London, actually, in the House of Commons only last week, attending a presentation by some Ukrainians on what they've been doing in terms of drones and other weapon systems they've developed over the last 3 or 4 years, and it was a very impressive demonstration. But they are very worried, and people have been saying that the Russian economy is collapsing, et cetera, et cetera. They've been saying that for quite a while. I was never convinced that it was as bad as people were playing out, and it certainly isn't as bad now because of the amount of oil that they've been able to sell and the revenues they're getting in as a result of this. And yes, that we, the West, particularly America, of course, or America is using up a lot of stuff that people would have hoped would have gone into Ukraine. Now, that said, Trump has made it clear that we, the Europeans, need to pick up the slack. And again, whether one wants to be fair to him or not, he's been saying this for quite a while.
Yeah, but we were buying weapons from the US to give to Ukraine, and now the US will be saying, no, we're restocking our own stuff now.
There's certainly that. But we do have the ability of developing, building and producing our own systems, but we haven't done enough. Is the honest answer. So yeah, there's no doubt that this is having a potentially very bad effect. And President Zelensky is worried. There's no doubt about that at all. And I feel for the guy. The bloke must be absolutely exhausted. emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically absolutely exhausted, as are a lot of his people. You know, when we're just coming out of, thankfully, a really cold weather. But going back to our earlier conversation, you know, Russia has been targeting the critical national infrastructure of Ukraine. It's been hitting their power supplies, their electricity distribution systems, etc., etc. And I haven't heard many people who are complaining about Israel or America complaining about Russia doing all this.
No, I completely agree.
Months, not years.
Yeah.
You know, I'm afraid there's a bit of let's be polite about it. People aren't making the same issue over the way Russia have been behaving, which I think is wrong. They should be. Of
course they should be. I absolutely agree with you. It's absolutely disgraceful that it's not been pointed to how many war crimes the Russians are committing. It's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me. No doubt we'll speak again soon, I hope. Major General Tim Cross, CBE, retired Army officer and military logistics expert. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good evening. This is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And as ever, Talkback is happening at midnight, which is exactly what it says. It is your opportunity to talk back about the stories of the day. And I really do want to talk to you because it's a particular, really big bugbear of mine, is the way other people's children behave. And particularly in very adult spaces, like pubs, for example, or restaurants. I cannot bear it. It's not cheap to go out now, right? It is expensive. I mean, even to go to the pub, you're looking at 50 quid on a couple of rounds of drinks, if that. So it's expensive. And what you don't want, one of my local pubs, which I don't go to anymore, there was a kid in there, probably it was still in nappies. Well, that was the point. It was meant to be in nappies, but it wasn't. And the parents, the men all had top-knot buns, you know the type of parent I'm talking about, and sat there poring over the Guardian or whatever it was they were reading. I know, but they were all just there and, you know, chatting, and this child ripped off its own nappy, was butt naked, running around the pub, sitting on chairs and messing I mean, and the parents go, oh yeah, let's discuss. Oh, he's just expressing himself. No. I wish I could swear on this programme because I'd tell you exactly what was going through my mind. I called the manager over and said, is this acceptable? By the way, there was also a rugby match going on, I think. So I was there to sort of keep an eye on the rugby and have a drink with my friends. Unbelievable. And the parents did nothing. The manager went over there and said, look, your kid is running around butt naked, its dirty nappy is somewhere in the pub. Can you parent, please? And they were like, oh, but he's just having a bit of fun. He's independent. Could not believe it. It was disgraceful. And it is the parents. It's either parents like that with the men with the top knot and their wives in their home crocheted cardigans, talking absolute rubbish while their children run around and go, oh, they're just expressing themselves. Or it's other parents who just can't be bothered to look after their kids. You've got waiting staff with hot food and things like that. Kids are running around. annoying dogs, that's the thing that annoys me. If I go there with my dog, my older dog, who's very well behaved, I wouldn't take my puppy to a pub because he's a nightmare. So I wouldn't do that. I didn't take my child to a pub if he was I'd go for an hour, and then when he started getting a bit crotchety, I'd take him home. That's what you do. Just because you're a parent, it does not give you the right to inflict your children on everybody else. So I completely support the idea that children, all children, should be banned from all pubs in the evening at least. That's it. Just a blanket ban. No kids. Sorry. Don't have kids if you want to, if going to the pub is so important to you. Tough. Life does not stay the same when you have children, does it, Sam? No. Sam's got 2 little boys. So he knows he can't go and relax in a pub in the afternoon. He knows that because he's a decent parent. So why do you think you've got the right to ruin everybody else's time off? My rant isn't over, but it might be over for now. So that's what I want to talk about with you at midnight, because I cannot believe it. And I also cannot believe that if I go over to Europe, how well behaved their children are. What's going on? What is going on? Give me a call. Let me know, especially if you're a waiter, waitress, bar staff, work in a pub, work in anything that these brats go into. And by the way, nobody likes your children as much as you do. Nobody. So if they come over to me and start gibbering at me, they go, oh, isn't he cute? No. No. You like them. Nobody else does. Nobody. They pretend to. It's the truth. I know it hurts, but it is the truth. Give me a call. 0344 499 1000 and text the word talk and your messages to 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, very good evening. It's Petrie here with you. Just a reminder that coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to have Claire Muldoon going through the newspapers. Plus, we're going to be talking about pubs that ban children. Yes, more power to them. First, though, of course, the war that's going on in the Middle East and the impact that it is already having on you and me. And I went and filled up my car yesterday. I just thought, oof, yeah, that's a bit pricey. And a lot of people now are changing their driving habits already because of the cost of fuel. So that's just one impact. The other impact, talking to my makeup artist earlier on, she was talking about mortgage rates because she's trying to get a mortgage. And she said, oh, they've just gone up and they're going to go up again and again. So all of these things can be attributed directly to what's going on in the Middle East. So our Prime Minister appeared before Parliament's Liaison Committee, where he welcomed potential talks between the US and Iran, but said that it would be false comfort to assume that this war would have a quick and early end. That much I do agree with him. He also said that on rising energy prices, he's looking at ways to offer support after the energy price cap comes to an end in June. And he chaired also a COBRA meeting on the economic impact of the ongoing war in Iran and its effect on the UK's cost of living. He's also talking about the Competition and Markets Authority having more power to root out price gouging. But is this going to be enough? We're already feeling the impacts. This is just 3 and a bit weeks in. This will not end quickly. And even if it were to end tomorrow, the drag will go on for weeks, if not months, potentially years, to rebuild the infrastructure, to start pumping the oil out of refineries that have been damaged. It could take much longer than we think. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Ryan Saby, who is the Deputy Political Editor at The Sun. Good to see you again, Ryan. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. From a political point of view, how is Keir Starmer handling this, do you think?
I think you can look at it from 2 different levels. I think you look at it from maybe sort of the world affairs level, and I think in terms of playing to his base and trying to get on the right side of his Labour MPs, I think he's probably having quite a good war, as it were, because they like him to stand up to Donald Trump. They could see that Donald Trump didn't particularly have or didn't have any kind of sort of end game to this. Did he have the right way that he could see regime change? So as much as many people would say Keir Starmer was dithering, didn't want to play Donald Trump's game, Donald Trump hasn't got that sort of final sort of the end in sight for Donald Trump. He may be able to see it, but there's no plan. He was talking about regime change just a few weeks ago, and that seems to have changed. So I think Keir Starmer is probably having a good sort of war when it comes to his own Labour MPs. But then, on the other hand, when you come to cost of living and the challenges that brings up, we are in for the long haul, and I think that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it appears that Keir Starmer, the way I look at him, is that he actually prefers the big stuff. He prefers the global impact. He prefers to be a big man on the big stage, rather than really taking care of domestic issues, in which he doesn't seem to have a very good grasp. Would that be fair?
I think the trouble with the domestic issues, I think they've been wrong-footed. They've made so many wrong moves since they've been in. I mean, they've only been in just longer than 18 months. We've seen all these U-turns, whether it's on the winter fuel crisis, the farmers' tax. They just haven't put a foot right. So I think in some ways, when he goes on the international stage, it's almost like sort of light relief for him, because even though we're talking about issues of great magnitude, he hasn't got that. He can act like that statesman, and he is away from those domestic pressures. The international stage brings its own pressures with them, but it's not that constant sort of so that constant sort of aggro that he gets at home. He hasn't got his own MPs on his back in the same way, and he can kind of just be himself. And I've been away with him, and it almost looks like he's got a weight off his shoulders when he goes away. I've been away, at G7 in Canada. I've been to Samoa with him, to a Commonwealth meeting, and he just seems like a different person, and he seems a lot more relaxed in that environment. But as soon as he gets home, he's got, not only pressures from his own side, but he's got, 5 or 6 other parties breathing down his neck as well.
Yeah, he's just a blunderbuss, isn't he, when it comes to the UK? What will he have to do you think, Ryan, to continue having this good war?
I think what he'll have to do, and I think this is where the problems start, I think coming down the line. We're only a few weeks away from where he's got to make decisions on how much help he gives when it comes to the energy crisis. And I think the trouble is, when it comes to an energy crisis and how much help you're prepared to give the British people, there is always going to be a cut-off. So there has been, the Chancellor has spoken about it. She's talked about targeted help. Keir Starmer was talking about sort of the plight of the public finances and the fragile state they are in. So the help and the financial help is only going to go so far, and there is going to be a lot of losers. So there may be a point where people on benefits, people on universal credit get that, but beyond that, it's going to be very, very difficult. And we go back a few years, it was Theresa May who always talked about the just about managing. Those people who go to work, they put in a hard day's work, and that they kind of expect that maybe the state will stand by them in hard times. But I think on this occasion, it's going to be very, very difficult. So I think, he may be able to stand up to Donald Trump and sort of take his, not go along with what he's saying in the war. But, that may work on the sort of world stage. But when it comes to domestic stage, I think he's going to he's about to run into a brick wall, to be honest.
He's also got the May elections coming up, and it feels like politically there's a little bit of pressure being taken off Keir for his stance with Trump, but that's not going to hold, is it? That's not going to last. He's still in a really precarious position, right?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. And I think one of the things that, a couple of things that will probably save him is this Middle East conflict. Is it the right time? And is it, it's always about the context of when someone is going to challenge Keir or challenge the Prime Minister. Is this the right time for it? So you kind of wonder whether he's almost bought himself, the rest of this year to stay as leader, because it's just not the right time for anyone else to come in. If we are still in this conflict in a few weeks' time, is Angela Rayner, is Wes Streeting, is anyone else in the Labour Party, Ed Miliband, say, really going to put themselves forward? Are they going to be able to find the 80 MPs who are going to back them to put up that challenge? I find that very, very difficult to see. And I'll just point out one thing. Just a few days after those May elections in May, we have the King's speech. Is it, and that's where obviously the government put forward their legislative programme for the following year. Is it the case that any of those other contenders, the Angela Rayners, the Wes Streetings, are really going to sort of maybe try and embarrass the King, because it won't be, Keir will be put under pressure. Will his legislative agenda be there for the following year? So I think that may be. I think they deliberately put the King's speech just a few days after the May elections for maybe some kind of reset moment. But I think it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to challenge. And I just point out one thing on that. I just wonder whether Keir actually goes for a reshuffle after those May elections, almost like a last throw of the dice. Now, he may not get rid of maybe his top 3 or 4 positions, but he may be looking to inject some fresh blood into his government, maybe have some movement at sort of those sort of mid-ranking cabinet positions, just to look like it's a fresh government. Maybe bring back Angela Rayner. She's been making lots of soundings over the past week or so. Let's just see what happens. But it feels
she may be safer on the inside, mightn't she? For Keir.
Exactly.
The other question, of course, is the budget that I know is not for a few months yet. It's not until the autumn. But already we're hearing whispers that Reeves's 20 billion black hole is gone, and that she's looking at more ways to tax us. That surely would be disastrous for the Labour government, let alone just Keir Starmer.
Yeah, you look at where she can try and raise some money in terms of taxation, on individuals. Again, well, those thresholds have been extended on income tax. If she goes for business again, that would not be a wise move, because I think business they are feeling, the pipsqueak, national insurance, minimum wage is very, very difficult for businesses, whatever side, whether it's small businesses or medium, large businesses, to soak all that up. Does she borrow more? Well, the markets won't like that as well. Or does she look for more spending cuts within departments? So she's got to find, looks like she's going to have to find some money from somewhere, because what's happening now, she's got that financial cushion, as you say, of around £20 billion. But with, the financial bailouts that Keir mentioned today, that could last until the winter. You've got higher interest rates, you've got inflation. That is just going to see that headroom dwindle. So some money will have to be found from somewhere. Tax rises, spending cuts. It doesn't look like Rachel Reeves wants to be borrowing too much more money. So the next few months are going to be very, very difficult for this government to try and balance the books.
Triple lock?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult to do that before the election. But I think there really has to be a grown-up, cross-party conversation about that, because I mean, I think one of the things this triple lock was brought in was to sort of match wages, and sort of in the early 2010s, and it seems that growth in the state pensions is caught up with wages. But I just feel which political party is really going to want to go for that a couple of years out before election. You're going to have inquiries. You're going to have some kind of consensus on that. It's going to be very, very difficult. And I think privately, lots of parties are talking about trying to do that, but saying something publicly and actually doing it is a completely different thing.
Yeah, completely. Ryan, thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Ryan Sabey there, who is the Deputy Political Leader for The Sun.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you. And this is one of the biggest bugbears that I put up with in my life. And some of you might say, well, I'm quite lucky that this is a big bugbear because there aren't others, but it's other people's children. I cannot bear it. I literally, the fact that they're allowed to run around in restaurants, in pubs, even in mind you, cinemas, you can't complain if it's a kid's film, but I can't bear it. Why are British children so badly behaved? Why? Why is it that certainly in my day, when I was a kid, we were in the car? That's what happened to us, with a bottle of Coca-Cola and a packet of crisps locked in the back of a car while our parents went into the pub. We were not allowed in the pub at all, and we didn't mind, actually. So we were fine. But that's what happened to me in the 70s, right? That's what all kids. You could every car in the car park had kids locked in it. Hot days, high days, rainy days, doesn't matter. We were all locked in the car. Since then, children have been allowed in pubs. And when my son was little, the second I knew I had about 45 minutes that he would sit and do colouring in or whatever, and then I'd have to go home. And often I went home really upset and really sad that I had to leave my friends, but I did it because I didn't want anybody else to have to put up with his behaviour. So why is it now that parents seem to think that they can do whatever they like, whenever they like, and their kids can just run riot? What is going on? An increasing number of pubs in the UK have been banning children from their establishments, some after 7 p.m, some altogether. They blame parents who let their children roam around and use the pub as a creche, putting off other punters and not being able to control or care about the havoc their kids cause to staff. Now, the law generally allows pub landlords to ban children from their premises at their own discretion. Thank you for being discreet. The Licensing Act 2003 made it easier for families to visit pubs, but it does not grant children an automatic right of entry. Martin Bridge joins me now. He's owner of the Whippet Inn in York. It's a restaurant pub that doesn't allow under 14s. Good on you.
Right.
Good
Thank you.
on you. I would give you a high five if I could. Martin, why did you make that decision?
Well, to be fair, it was on the back of quite a few conversations with friends that had children, and at the time, and it still is the case, that they just felt that there wasn't somewhere that they could claim as their own as parents. Somewhere where they could go as date night and know that they were going to be surrounded by like-minded people, that were just that didn't want kids around them. And it was on the back of that really that we just said, right, fine, that's the direction that we'll take the business. It's 13 years on, we're still here.
It's an interesting thing, though, isn't it? Because you would imagine, I imagine that a lot of pubs at the moment, because you're having such a difficult time with costs and all of that. I understand the hospitality industry really well. So I know the problems that you're having and I know the issues that you're having with costs. And a lot of people would say, yeah, so let them all in. These parents, they want somewhere to go. They want somewhere to let the kids run around. It's money. So it's quite a strong business decision to say we're going to not allow a certain type of person with little people into a pub.
Yeah, we're not a big venue, so we do have to be very, very mindful of our other guests. So we're only 40 covers. It's quite compact. So to allow children in, and children are always going to do what they do. They're going to make noise. They're going to get fidgety. They're going to get agitators and all this sort of stuff. So we probably can't really change our attitude towards it. Not that we would anyway. We've got 13 years worth of regulars that absolutely love what we do. Sometimes at half term we go, have we made the right decision? But I think we have. There's a lot of people out there that appreciate what we do.
I definitely think you have. I think the pubs around me all allow kids in, and it's a nightmare. It's just unpleasant. And I was saying earlier on in the programme that actually it's expensive for punters to go out now, right? Even if you go for a Sunday lunch, I took a friend for Sunday lunch the other day. It was over £100 for two of us. So that's an expensive lunch, right? We had a couple of glasses of wine. We had our food. I don't want kids running around and ruining that.
I think if you're going to go somewhere where there's a children's menu, I think if you're going to go somewhere that has a venue that has a children's menu, then you've got to expect to be kind of swept up into it and be involved in families and all this sort of stuff. It's the same if you're going to go somewhere and there's sports screens on, that you are quite possibly going to be, end up in a sort of like a football or a rugby environment and all that sort of stuff. So if there's a ballpark, don't go.
I completely agree. But this place actually doesn't have a kids menu, but the children are there, and a lot of people will be thinking, well, it's not fair because you know, we want to go out and eat too. You know, just because we're parents doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to do that. What do you say to parents who might come in and with kids younger than 14 and say, well, we want to eat too?
Yeah, but you know, in York City Centre, there's probably, fast approaching 100 venues that offer, family food and the family experience and all that sort of stuff. And there's maybe 3 or 4 that offer an adult environment and all that sort of stuff. So I think there's choice. I think how you manage the situation is the most important thing. When we opened up 13 years ago, we used to say we don't allow kids, and we've very quickly found out that that's not the right terminology to use. So we were very quick into changing that to saying adults only. It's easier to manage the situation sort of through the booking process more so than it is having them come into the building, because then it's very awkward for everybody involved. It can be very, very uncomfortable for the younger members of staff, if they have to approach it and all this sort of stuff, because nobody really wants to be told that they can't do something, and that's very much with certainly the case with families.
Do you think it's that a lot of people are saying it's the parents that are just expect everybody to babysit their kids in a pub? That the parents they're expecting to relax and have a nice time, and they just let their kids run around, which is dangerous, right, in a pub anyway.
I do think, dangerous thing to say, I do think that the British or English sort of like mentality to children, outside in restaurants and venues is quite unique to Great Britain or England. I've been in the industry for years and years, and obviously, I have lucky enough been able to go on holiday onto the continent and all that sort of stuff. And the attitude to sort of like children in restaurants and bars and stuff like that, usually seems to be quite, sort of like they're quite adult in their attitude. But I do think, like I said earlier, kids are kids. They're going to do what they want to do, and it's how they're parented or they're managed, whatever words you want to use, that determine. My son's 22 now, and when I opened the whippet, he wasn't allowed in here, and but I know full well, when he was young and he was getting agitated or upset in a restaurant, then we would, one of us would go for a walk with him, because we were mindful of those sat around us and all this sort of stuff. And like you said earlier, going out nowadays is really, really expensive, so I think, we've got to be respectful of everybody's sort of what they're trying to get from that experience. But again, like I said, if you're going somewhere with a kids menu, then you are possibly going to sort of not maybe get the experience that you want.
But has it changed, Lucy, in the last 13 years, the expectation of punters? I mean, perhaps not in your pub, because they know what they're going in for. They're going into a pub where you don't have children running around. But is there an expectation now from punters to be able to do what they want and have what they want whenever they want it, as opposed to a couple of decades ago where it was more polite in a way?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot. Yeah, I do think people are more and more sort of that they can walk into somewhere and what they're going to do is acceptable. I mean, you said earlier on, I was probably of the same generation where I was sat in a car with a can of Coke and a packet of crisps. Yep. And I was. So and I do think it's wonderful that there is a bit more sort of I think it's fantastic that families can go out, as long as it is the right environment and it is the right place, again, like I said earlier, if you're going somewhere where there's big TV screens and and fruit machines and all this sort of stuff, then you do know where you're going to end up.
Yeah, I'd rather a bunch of football guys and girls than children, frankly.
I'm not sure about that. I've been in the industry for quite some time, and it's not easy to ask either group to calm down. But yes, it's probably easier with a family than it is with 20 lads.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the kids are just. But also, do you allow dogs?
Yes, we do.
I'm going to come to your pub next time I'm in York. I'm coming. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've got one well-behaved dog and one puppy, and I wouldn't dream of taking the puppy into the pub. The well-behaved one, the older one, yeah, absolutely. Because again, I think that it's responsible to have another creature that's well-behaved.
Yeah, get that.
Yeah.
To be fair, the staff would fuss the puppy just as much as they would the other.
And he knows it as well. He is absolutely beautiful. Listen, it's great to talk to you, Martin. Good luck with you. I mean, you don't need it. You sound like you've got it absolutely sorted, and I'm going to sort you out if I ever come to York. So thank you very much indeed for that. The owner of the Whippet Inn in York. So if you're in that area, go to the Whippet Inn, and they don't have children under the age of 14. So you can actually eat your supper, drink your gin and tonic and relax and not have kids running around. Amazing. So your 14-year-olds can go in though, so that's all right. They're a bit more respectable then, aren't they? They're sort of a bit more organised at 14. They can look after themselves, or you give them a phone to look at. You don't even have to talk to them. Mind you, 14-year-olds don't talk anyway. Mr. Ant in County Durham has said, totally agree, dogs should always be welcome. Children should be kept on a lead at all times. They used to have leads for children. Do they still have those? Looking at me like that. They used to have a little thing, like a dog harness and a lead you put your kid on. Yeah, they do still exist. So there you go. Right, more comments, please. I want to hear from you about kids in pubs and why are we so bad at controlling our children in this country. So do give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Stay where you are, because coming up after the news and after the break, it's Claire Muldoon to look through the papers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next couple of hours, and in an hour's time, almost exactly, it is Talkback. And it is time for you to do that. And I've got loads of comments coming in. I'm not alone. This is why I love doing phone-ins, because I find my family, I found my people who are agreeing with me about children in pubs. Now, if you don't agree with me, you are equally welcome to get in touch. If you're somebody who's sitting there going, this is really unfair, it's so unfair that as parents we're not allowed to take our children into some pubs. Do you really believe that? A pub landlord says that parents' behaviour has deteriorated to the point that he's now banned children from his East London pub. This was last week. The Kenton in Hackney has said that entitled parents have a lack of understanding that you are in a public place like a pub. You need to look after your children. They put up signs around the pub, by the way, before they banned children completely, saying, this is not a creche. This is not a creche. I mean, I remember one time, again, it was the same pub where the kid with the taking the nappy off and running around with the parents with the top knot, the men, in the garden. And I was sat out in the garden, and it was in the days that I smoked. And I was sat out in the garden, and I was having I think a nice bottle of very dry pink wine with a friend, and I was smoking and swearing, because I love to swear. It's just what I do when I'm not in a studio. I'm very good at it. So I was chatting away, you know, with a mate and smoking, swearing. And I had this woman come over. She said, would you mind, first of all, not swearing in front of my children? And second of all, smoking. I was like, well, I would tell you what I said to her, but that would be swearing. Because I was in an adult space. I was in a pub, just outside in the garden, in a pub. It was your kids in the evening, screaming, running around, making everybody's life miserable, while you sat and chatted with your friends. So I told her very politely to go away. Well, it wasn't polite. And continued swearing even more. Because I thought, what are you doing? This is a pub. Anyway, I'm all for it. I think that children, certainly under the age of 14, should be banned from all public houses all the time. There you go, I've said it. But if you're a parent who thinks that that's unfair, do let me know. On the other hand, if you're a human being who thinks that I am talking sense and actually should be the ruler of the world with views like that, then let me know. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text the word talk and your message, if you'd like to 87222. Love to hear your views on that. Why can't modern children behave? What's going on? Why is it that when you go into Europe, children do seem to behave better? Or maybe I just don't understand their parents swearing at them. Who knows? So that's going to be the conversation. Well, joining me now is a no-nonsense mum, who I'm sure, absolutely certain, did not and would not let her children behave badly in a public house. And that is...
anywhere.
Claire Muldoon. You and I are cut from the same cloth on this, right?
Absolutely we are. Absolutely we are. And in fact, the minute I see a pub, in fact, there's one close to us actually, on King Street in Hammersmith, and it actually advertises, you know, children friendly. And I'm like, well,
I'm not
if you're children friendly, yeah. You're not friendly with me, then I'm sorry, you've lost my custom.
Exactly that, right?
Yeah, oh God, absolutely. I mean, it's just not... I mean, you spoke there about Europe. Okay, Europe doesn't really have the same pub culture as we do.
They don't.
And the weather's completely different. You're more off to see either in Madrid or big cities in Italy as well.
In the Piazza.
Yeah, in the Piazza. And you've got gelatos in Italy, and you've got kids running around, but it's happy. And the weather's nice, and everyone's out having a small aperitivo or a small beer or something or whatever. So it's much more culturally acceptable, and it's completely different. They just don't have a pub culture. But here, my goodness me, it's just no place for children. they're so small anyway, they'd get lost and, running around. You don't want anyone running around either. You just want to sit, relax, and have a few beers or wines with your mates, either go into the pub garden. It was better when you could smoke indoors, of course, because you didn't need to go out in the in the inclement weather that we have sometimes. But it's somewhere you go to relax. It's not somewhere you go to bring kids, for God's sake. And they're a danger in pubs. They really are. They
really are. You see them running into the legs of waiters and waitresses who are carrying drinks or hot food.
Yeah.
But what is it with the parents, Claire? I mean, I can only imagine you with your little ones, trying to take them out for. I mean, you probably didn't even go to a pub, but if you did, it was
I would never have taken them to a pub.
I mean, when we were kids, we were locked in a car in the in the pub car park.
All levels of child abuse going on when we were brought up in the 70s and 80s.
So that was it. We didn't even think about going into a pub. You got your bottle of Coke and your bag of crisps and you were locked in the car. That was it.
Yeah, and you sat there and you were thankful for even to be able to sit there.
It was exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it was a day trip.
Yeah.
Around the corner. Anyway, no, when I took my kids out, I would say just up until last year. No, that's not true. But they were always so well behaved. They would never not be well behaved because they had supper every single evening round a table, cooked by me, and we had a discussion. We chatted. That's what we did. I would never, and even when we went to restaurants, they could order from the menu. They didn't get children's portion. There was no children's menus. It was proper food, and none of this craning rubbish that they can end up, mind you, in saying that. I remember once we took them to a cafe in Chiswick. It was called Tootsie's. It's not there anymore.
Oh, I remember Tootsie's. I used to go there with my boy. Yeah.
So I had my Caitlin and Stephanie, and then I had Anna, who was just she was still in a high chair, and we gave her a crayon or something like that, and she lobbed it at the guy that was sitting next to us. Now the guy that was sitting next to us was none other than Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the weekend that the pregnancy had just dropped between him and Gwyneth Paltrow. And to say he didn't look very happy was a bit of an understatement. So I don't know if it was a correlation between the news that had just broken or the fact he'd just been lobbed a crayon by my daughter. Anyway, so safe to say we kind of profusely apologised, etc., etc. But that was in a cafe and that was daytime. That was a kid in a high chair. I think that was, to a level, acceptable, but certainly not. I would never ever have taken them into pubs. Can hardly get them out of pubs now.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. Likewise, but it is interesting though for me that the parents seem to think that that's okay. The kids wouldn't get away with it if the parents, and you've got all these different types of parents. It's not just the parents. A lot of people will be thinking, oh, it's the rough lot, or it's not them. It's I was saying earlier, it's one of the pubs is these men with top knots. I mean, the type of families that I'm talking about, and they just seem to think that it's their right.
Entitled, yeah. And it's the same parents that will allow the children to sit on chairs and tubes, on seats and tubes. Oh, I'm sorry, no, they're not allowed. They sit on your knee. You don't stand up so they can sit down. No,
I trained my boy to stand up for people.
Yeah, always. And if they don't, I actually ask the parent, could you remove the child, please?
Do you?
From the seat. Well, I paid for it. The child doesn't pay.
No, that's true. That's a very good point. But why is this sense of entitlement? What has happened to parenting? I mean, my theory is that it's the nanny state. That's my theory, is that a lot of parents now believe it's not their role to parent their children anymore. It's the state's job. It's teachers that have got to teach them to be potty trained. And to use a knife and fork.
I think a lot of parents as well are frightened of conflict with their children. I think a lot of them now, because they have smaller families, and some of the children might have, they might have followed a path through IVF to get their child, so therefore their child would be extremely precious to them, like a commodity almost, that they wouldn't want to, have any conflict whatsoever with the child. And they might think that the child is the best thing since sliced bread. Well, I'm sorry, they're not. There's no child that is. You love your child. You're You should have a respect for them for being a human. You're not their friend. You're not their mate. And by behaving like that, you're not doing them any favours. And if you don't do them any favours in a social situation, leapfrog 10 years down the line, you're certainly not doing us any favours either, or society as a whole.
You've also, it's just Sam's just said as well, it's screen time as well. You see children in buggies now with a screen, and I think it's really sad. But it appears that there's no conversations happening. There's no chat that goes on between parent and child either. The art of sitting there and just being and talking seems to have gone.
And it's so important. We must get that back. We must claim it back, because it is increasingly more prevalent now when you see kids. And then you wonder why kids are developing later in terms of the toilet training, potty training. There was a movement a few months ago for nurseries to accept children that weren't even potty trained. I mean, it's just abhorrent. I mean, by the age of 2, the child should be dry day and night.
Yeah.
Nothing else for it. If you can still afford to pay nappies up to the age of 4, well, good on you. Not many of us could. Not many of us want to.
No.
You're supposed to be environmentally friendly, you lot, as well.
Yeah, and the minute that my boy could even walk, the buggy went.
Yeah.
There was none of that. There was none of that. He was going to walk even if it took me an hour to go to the end of the street.
Yeah.
But
I was the same.
But again, you see,
buggy,
yeah, kids on scooters now instead of walking. I'm amazed they can actually walk.
Well,
I can't. I must admit, it does give me some joy when I hear a scream behind me. But anyway, I shouldn't say that.
What, because you inflicted the scream?
No.
You made the child scream.
No, just when they're racing around the pavements, banging into people, and then they suddenly fall off. I think, oh, there you go.
I think what would sum this up before you head to the break is your and I's favourite laundry capsule adverts when they say,
keep away from children.
Yeah.
Keep away from children. Every time I go, no problem.
No problem.
No problem at all. Let's go to a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you, and with me is the fabulous Claire Muldoon, going through the papers, and let's have a look at the Sun for tomorrow, Claire. Barmy Beeb bans Bob.
Well, this is just an incredible story, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
It is, really, really is. Is this the repair shop that they were trying to capture some of Bob Monkhouse? I thought was incredibly funny. I loved Bob Monkhouse. I loved his wit. And there was a handwritten journal of his jokes that was apparently taken to the repair shop to be completely renewed, do everything wonderful that they actually do. And a member of staff got offended by one of the jokes. So it was pulled.
Isn't
that just ridiculous?
It is absolutely ridiculous, because actually his jokes were just clever. They were just silly. And he hand wrote them all.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. And the joke on the front here, I can still enjoy sex at 74. I live at 76, so it's no distance.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, and his joke, they weren't even risque. They're not, I just don't even think they're risque, but just one person complaining about it,
and
saying, I was offended.
His delivery as well. It was brilliant.
Oh, yeah. You say mine wasn't?
Well,
okay.
did you have the Cocoa Pop on your chin? The way you remember that was another one.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, they're just really, really silly. And they're saying here, this is a new low. And it really is. I mean, look, everybody has the right to be offended. Just be offended.
Exactly.
Be offended.
Don't complain
So what?
about it.
So what? Yeah. So what?
I mean, I remember saying to you a few weeks ago as well, I think the problem with a lot of us in this world and a lot in society is the fact that we can't laugh anymore at people, at things, and stereotypes were there because they were funny, and people, a certain section of society might have behaved the way that they do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like Ricky Gervais always says, look, the joke, it's often against the bad people, jokes are.
It was almost mostly against the bad people.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you've watched the new Saturday Night Live, the UK version.
I did,
It dropped. Did you? What did you think of it? Because I've not seen it yet. I've seen bits of it.
Look, I did laugh. I think it's got to find its feet. I don't think it knows quite what it is yet, even though it's copying the American version.
Yeah.
I think that it's got to be a little bit more British, because our humour's great and we want British humour. There was one sketch that was absolutely hilarious. So
is that the Last Supper one?
No, it's not. It's about a face cream. You'll know it when you see it. It's very funny.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of laugh out loud moments, but it was okay. It was good. I think I'll watch it again and see if it grows. And of course, we don't know any of the people, and there's a lot of recognition value in the celebrities or the performers, and they're all new. So we've got to learn to love them.
I hope that's a turning point then, because I used to. I mean, even Brass Eye back in the day, and the 11 o'clock show with. Daisy O'Donovan and Ian, gosh, what was his name?
Ian Lee as well.
Ian Lee, yeah.
Ian Lee.
Brilliant in it. And Sacha Baron Cohen came up through that, and Ricky Gervais to a certain extent as well. But that was all great humour. Yeah. But I think on Amazon Prime there is the Jimmy Carr thing.
Oh, it's brilliant. Last to Laugh.
Yeah, Last to Laugh. That is really funny.
It's very funny. Very
Alan Carr with his helium inhaler.
Yeah, I love it. And Last to Laugh, for those who don't know it, is literally a bunch of comedians in a house like Big Brother, but they're not allowed to laugh at each other or at anything. And they set up sketches and they do all of that kind of thing. And if you laugh, you're out.
And some of the funniest moments are actually
last one laughing.
Catching them trying to laugh.
Oh, it's so good.
They're trying to corpse like mad.
It was so good.
And that's actually sometimes funnier than what's going on. And Bob Mortimer, he still is random.
Well, he won last season, didn't he? he won. Yeah, he won the first series, and he's back in this year. But some of the comedians, they're very funny, trying to make each other laugh. Danny
Dyer
and not laugh themselves.
Danny Dyer as Harry Potter. What was it? Danny Potter.
Danny Potter. Yeah, that was really good. I mean, I think Saturday Night Live had some good parts.
Good.
I'm on the fence. I'm prepared to give it a little bit more time. Let's have a look at the Times. France migrants agreement held up by Mahmoud's tougher terms. A deal with France to pay for migrant beach patrols has been delayed because Shabana Mahmoud wants stricter payments by results terms.
And at present, Britain pay nearly 2/3 of the £160 million annual cost of the migrant patrols in northern France.
Yeah,
2/3.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's because they know so many of them want to come over to if they've got that far.
Bloody believable. It really is. The French intercept only 37% of attempted crossing at present, down from their, better than 50% in 2023? Oh, when the £475 million deal, the 3-year deal was signed. It's not known what interception rates that Shabina Mahmood wants. I'd prefer 100% interception rate myself, because I think it's just getting so bad. And I don't understand why this is still not, discussed every single day. It's more, instead of labelling people on the right wing of politics as saying they're completely anti-immigrant, everyone's in danger of these boats crossings. The people in the boats, the RNLI that have to go and help them if they get into danger. The police force, the financial figures are there. So everyone loses out. And then...
And it's going to get worse with the Middle East, the war in the Middle East.
The displacement is going to
There's
get
1 million people
worse.
displaced in Lebanon. There's going to be more people from Iran, a lot more people claiming they're from Iran.
So we need grown-up cross-party discussions. We need grown-up cross-party global discussions on how to help this situation, because it cannot go on by labelling people pejoratively. It cannot go on by people shouting at each other, "You're right, I'm wrong, you're right, I'm right, you're wrong." That's no use. You're far right, well, you're far left. You're wokey-cokey. These name calling, it's just, nothing ever gets done with it. We need processing centres, we need direction, we need the money exposed and filtered and managed properly, and we need to know the numbers that are coming in, where they're coming in from, and why they're coming.
Absolutely, and I support Mahmood trying to get a better deal, because just throwing money at the situation,
it doesn't help.
It obviously doesn't help. It hasn't helped.
And with Yvette Cooper, when she was in that post, saying we need to smash the gangs. Well, I'm sorry, there's no gangs being smashed.
No. I mean, that was just a stupid catchphrase, wasn't it, really? The other story on the front page here, Trump, I'd bet on a deal with Iran. President eases threat on destroying power infrastructure and raises hopes of Strait of Hormuz reopening. Against what the Iranians are saying. They're saying there has been no conversation. This is fake news. Trump's also said that he wants significant regime change, which is not going to happen. And then he said that he was going to run the Strait of Hormuz with Iran. I can just imagine how the UAE
that would be...
Well, and also, nobody's going to allow that to happen. Kuwait wouldn't allow it. Saudi Arabia wouldn't allow it. I mean...
His own security services wouldn't allow that, for heaven's sake. I mean, the global economy is on the brink.
Absolutely.
And that then it poses problems as well as why. Why are we so reliant on the price of crude oil? Why is everything pegged to the price of gold and, commodities like that? When, I know the reason, because we're now no longer manufacturing anything in Britain, at least, and most of Europe. At least America can still manufacture some things, but we can't. And like Norway owns their own oil, we don't own our oil in the North Sea.
No.
We've got no contingency at all for.
Well, we don't have a nationalised oil.
Fuel.
Yeah, we don't have nationalised oil. America doesn't have nationalised oil.
Nope.
And countries where they've tried to nationalise, which is the Americans don't like. And also, they want to get rid of the petrodollar, and America doesn't like that either. So anybody who suggests that they might change out of buying oil in dollars, they get into trouble as well.
Yeah.
Just follow the money. All of this is about money.
Well, Iran's been bolstered, hasn't it, with all of this?
Yeah, sanctions were lifted.
Yeah,
on a country that's been...
They've made money.
Yeah, Russia, biggest winner out of this. Extraordinary.
And China.
Yeah, well, yeah, China.
Did you know that 90% of Japan's oil comes from the Straits of Hormuz?
Yes, I did. And they've got about 6 months left of oil.
Yeah.
They're in real trouble, which is why. That's why.
The Japanese were over last week at the White House.
Yeah, of course it was. Because they are 100%.
You didn't tell us about Pearl Harbor.
I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how? And she was so insulted by the whole thing. And then she goes to Canada and meets up with Mark Carney, who attempts to speak to her in Japanese. And she was so thrilled. It's just like, that's how you do diplomacy.
I have to say, my favourite ambassador in the whole world is the Japanese ambassador in this country. He is wonderful. He's the one that takes Paddington Bear all around the country with him. And he took him up to Glasgow and Edinburgh, and he gave him Iron Brew and a Tunnocks tea cake.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in a pub in Glasgow, and he went, "I'm going for a wee swally." It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, diplomacy is not Donald Trump's strong point, is it really?
No.
Right, let's have a look at the Metro. I didn't take this story from the front page of the Times because it's on every front page. Actually, not the Metro, the Guardian. Let's go to the Guardian. Horrific arson attack on Jewish charity condemned by the PM. Security agencies are investigating whether a group linked to Iran is behind the arson attack on 4 ambulances belonging to a Jewish charity in North London.
I mean, they're charitable ambulances that serve anybody that needs it. It's like an arm of, say, the St. John ambulances. You know, it's that, but they're run by the Jewish community, for the Jewish community, and for anyone else that needs an ambulance in North London. And for this attack to be so blatant, there's according to some of the, well, here, links to Iran. It just smacks of, well, obviously it is anti-Semitic. It is a horrific anti-Semitic attack, and it is being investigated. But
it was also
you just don't know where to start, even to comment on something like this.
You really don't. Except to say that Iran, if it is an Iran proxy in inverted commas, this is what they're calling for. That, you know, Iran is saying, look, the Israelis are bombing your home country if these are linked to Iran, which there is a belief that they are, and this is how war spreads. These are the repercussions of that war in the Middle East. But it was the proximity, I thought as well, so close to buildings and flats and where people were living, and the oxygen tanks in these things exploded, which is why the damage was so huge, without a thought, without a single thought to the collateral damage that they could have created. So it wasn't just about the ambulances, really. It was just the thoughtlessness of who else might have been caught up in that. It was absolutely disgusting. So Trump stalls strikes amid claims of productive talks with Tehran. I was just talking earlier on to a major general and you know, saying maybe somebody told Trump that actually would be a war crime to bomb the infrastructure in Iran. Oh. Yeah, so I think because civilian infrastructure is a war crime. The Metro, again, Claire, the images there of those absolutely gutted ambulances, like I said, that's because of the oxygen tanks that were in there that just blew up without a...
I mean, it looks like a war site. It
really does. Yeah.
Like a street in Iran or the Gaza Strip or whatever. It's just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that was the point they were trying to make. Who knows? Let's take a quick break. Claire and I will be back in just a moment.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here, and with me the fabulous Claire Muldoon, and the Daily Star for us.
Yep.
One's mobile home.
It's Vandy.
It's Vandy. Andy Windsor's new staff quarters. I mean, seriously, this is just, I mean, what? Andy Mountbatten Windsor has installed a huge white mobile home for his staff on the grounds of his Norfolk home. I mean,
What's he moving into? Running Butlins?
I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe
it's like it is a static caravan.
it's horrible, isn't it? I mean, maybe he's living next door in that shed. maybe that's where he's living now.
Well, I'm surprised he's got any staff, actually. I wouldn't want to work for him,
No,
would you?
I wouldn't either. I mean, how the mighty hath fallen, huh? When you see that. I wonder if he's got planning permission for that. Does he need it? Maybe not. Anyway, that's Andy. And
his poor staff. I mean,
I know.
As if it's not bad enough they have to work for him. But then to be put up in a blooming Gogglebox Butlins box.
I know. I mean, just...
Heidi, hi.
I don't. On a muddy...
Maybe he's sitting there with a glockenspiel then and he gets them up in the morning. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, goodness me. And look at it. It's on a muddy forecourt. I mean, that's got to be grim in the winter, hasn't it? I don't know. Well, anyway, that's Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who has fallen far. The Daily Mirror, again, they're talking about Andrew's caravan, mobile home for staff. And world in crisis, Trump claims he has held peace talks with Tehran. Iranian says it didn't happen, as Starmer warns it could go on for some time.
Well, remember on Saturday, Trump came out and said, I give these people 48 hours, to reopen the Straits of Hormuz, right? Then there was the Cobra meeting today that Starmer held on the back of the call that he had with Trump on Sunday. I mean, I know one of the skits on Saturday Night Live was a makeup of the call that they thought Starmer would have had with Trump, which I thought was actually quite funny. But you just wonder, how can Starmer actually have anything to talk about at all when you've got someone belittling you so much on a global stage that you then have to think, right, I really need to suck this up now. I need to put my big boy pants on. I need to actually engage with him in some level of conversation to try and get a way through this, not metaphorically and literally through the Straits of Hormuz, without having to be recalcitrant about it. It's just, I just don't know how you could
I couldn't. I couldn't. If somebody had done that to me, I'm sorry, I couldn't. So hats off to...
Would they be dead to you, Petrie? Would they be dead to you?
Dead. You know they would. But it is interesting to me that Donald Trump retweeted that sketch as well.
I know.
And he obviously thought it was hilarious. And then Keir Starmer said, yes, well, he's horrible to me to put pressure on me.
Yeah, because he wants me to join the war.
Yeah.
Like, well, no.
Well, I mean, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, but I think Trump's the bigger embarrassment, to be honest. To be honest with you, he's got himself into a right pickle with this.
Well, he really has. And
he did not think it was going to go this way.
Those comments that he made about the head of the FBI that died as well. I mean, that was just...
disgusting.
Tonality on that was just... It was worse than tone deaf.
There was that director that died as well, wasn't there? And he was joyful about that because he wasn't a Republican. Rob Reiner, when he was killed by his... Well, I think the court case is still going on, but it was alleged to be his son.
I think his son admitted it.
Oh, did he? But yeah, I mean, and joy, being joyful about that. It's so tacky. I mean, he's an embarrassment. I would be embarrassed. I think he's an saying, "Oh, good." someone's died.
I think he's on borderline.
So I'm going
to be honest with you, I really do.
Can I tweet that when he dies? I'll be told off. I'll be told that I'm not respectful enough.
But you wouldn't do that anyway.
I might think it, but I wouldn't.
Well, yeah.
I would.
Well, mind you, if you were in Scotland and you thought of something, the thought police could still.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
They can still get you.
They can still get you. And it's a really sad story at the top here. I saw this earlier on. I had a little read of it. The beautiful girl has childhood dementia.
How on earth can they diagnose that? What would the symptoms be?
A reversal.
That is absolutely tragic.
Yeah, I suppose that she would have reached certain milestones and then started to regress.
She's beautiful.
I know, real sweetie.
She is absolutely
2 years old with dementia.
God love her.
I know, bless her heart.
Her wee tractor and her beautiful wee wellies there.
No, look at her smile. Awful, just horrendous. What do you do as a parent? There's no cure. There's nothing they can do. The FT, future of OnlyFans empire in doubt, as the reclusive owner Radvinsky dies at the age of 43. This man made billions out of OnlyFans. I believe. I think he's a billionaire. He was a billionaire, and he had a long battle with cancer, and he died at the age of 43, which is really tragic. I mean, that's very young.
I think it is tragic, but it's also really tragic for the thing that he started up. I mean, it's legalized prostitution over the internet.
Well, if he hadn't done it, I'm afraid somebody else would have done. Because that's the way that society is going, isn't it? But
doesn't make it right, though, does it?
No. But a lot of people make a lot of money through it.
I know. But I'm much more saddened by the young, predominantly females that are students that go on OnlyFans to make money, to supplement their grants or to pay rent or it's just so sad.
It is sad. But he was regularly paid one of the largest dividends issued by any UK private company, including a record 701 million last year.
Was he listed in the UK? Oh, wow.
OnlyFans remains based in the country despite making the bulk of its profit in the US. The entrepreneur acquired the business from British father and son Gary and Tim Stockley, who founded the platform in 2016. So there you go. I thought it was American as well. But there you go, it's British. Trump touts diplomatic end to war. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a headline's doing a diplomatic. There's doing a lot of heavy lifting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
It really is.
Blimey. I mean, seriously. So we've got 5 days to come up with a peace plan now. And which is
that the Iranians are saying they're not part of.
That they're not part of, and also
how's that going to work?
Yeah, and also he's calling for, like I said, a significant regime change, which and the Iranians fired back saying, "Well, we'll enter peace talks when there's a regime change in America." Have you seen any of the Lego movies that they're putting out, the Iranians?
The Iranians?
To take the mick out of Donald Trump.
No.
Oh, they are so funny. I mean, I probably shouldn't enjoy them as much as I do, but they're Lego characters that somebody in Iran is putting together to mock Donald Trump. Look them up when we're finished.
I will.
Because they're actually very clever, has to be said. But yeah, they're not. This is the problem, that a lot of people believed that Iran was some backward, goat herding community. I mean, and Iran in the 70s was one of the leading lights of the world. It was, an extraordinary country before the mullahs took over. But the people there are brilliant. They're advanced. They're all of these. Just the regime is in the 1600, further back than the 1600s.
Very much so.
But the people, and they're fighting this strategically brilliantly. I mean, I don't admire war, and I don't admire the regime at all. but strategically, and the part of that strategy is the information that they're putting out, which they are just as clever as anybody else at being able to do that, and they've been underestimated.
Well, I am surprised at that, but last week we discussed it, and I said that they are playing this war as an economic war, because look what they've done now. They've got everyone vying for the Straits of Hormuz, and they're vying for the passage of energy, really. Yeah. And that's what they've, by not putting bombs into America or anywhere else, that's what they've done.
They really have.
They have countered it economically. But, we still need to reiterate that I think that the regime is just off. They still have public executions. They still have people hanging from cranes.
Absolutely disgusting. But the regime isn't changing. That's a misnomer. Unless there is a public uprising or boots on the ground.
Which they tried to do. And of course they silenced it. The 19-year-old wrestler that was hanged at the weekend is shocking.
It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Just before we go to the break, and this is how it will go down. The Daily Mail, Trump blinks first.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he's trying to be the big man and say that, he's going to call victory no matter what happens. We know that anyway. But this is him blinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know how his ego will cope with that.
I don't know how much he's actually in control now of anything, really.
No, I agree.
And even in control of his ego.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing is that we know that this could be a strategy of his to get the Marines in place to take Carg Island.
He's not that clever.
I don't think he is either. I think if that is the case, it's an accident. It's a mistake. But yeah, Trump blinks first. That's what the Daily Mail is saying. With world markets in meltdown, he announces a 5-day ceasefire. I don't think there is a ceasefire. Tehran denies talks and claims he's in retreat, which they would, right? Yeah. They would deny. But Iran has said it was fake news and a phantom negotiation designed to manipulate the financial markets, and denied any direct talks with Washington. And there is a question about how many people knew he was going to put out that statement and who invested in what at the time. Yeah. Within the White House, to see which people have shorted on oil, knowing that every time he says something like this, prices go down, then they go up. Yeah. It is absolutely corrupt. But there you go. And the other story at the top: the 5 vaccines you and your family should pay for if the NHS won't. We don't know what those vaccines are. But of course, with the meningitis outbreak that we're seeing, a lot of people are paying to have these vaccines now.
Good health.
Yeah, I think that people have gone off vaccines, but I think that is a real terrible mistake.
Well, we spoke about that last week as well, didn't we? And how important it was, because we seem to have more knowledge given to us when we were bringing up our kids, that there was very much something to look out for. It was there, and do get your kids vaccinated, and they got them all at school, etc., etc. And I just wonder now, from lockdown, what happened then if some of the cohort clearly missed the rollout of some of those vaccinations, and this is the fallout of it then. We don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. But talk there of people actually paying now to get vaccines if the NHS doesn't do that. Quick break. Claire and I'll be back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is, and it is Petrie, and with me is Claire Muldoon. We're going through the papers. The Independent, Claire, does say exactly what we were just saying, that Tehran dismisses any dialogue and accuses Washington of buying time for fresh military attacks, because at the end of this week, funnily enough, almost at the 5 days, those Marines, the first tranche of Marines,
boots will be on the ground,
do arrive. There was some mention that Trump would try and take Karg Island, which is where all the oil from Iran is then put onto ships and sent down the strait, and use that as a bargaining chip, basically to blackmail Tehran and say, look, we've got Karg Island now, we're going to stifle all your oil unless you open the Strait of Hormuz.
Do you think there might be a war room in the White Office, in the Oval Office, in the White House? Can you imagine what that would be like? It'd just be full of, what does he drink? Diet Coke or something? And Big Macs and
I reckon
everything else.
They have the pizza, what's it called in America with the Pentagon? The Pizza Index. It's called the Pizza Index, and that's how they see all the food going into the Pentagon. And they measure how many, they literally measure it. If you look it up, it's called the Pizza Index, and they can measure what kind of work is going on in the Pentagon by the amount of food that goes in. But with Donald Trump, he does it in Mar-a-Lago with a curtain.
Does he?
Yes, most of his. He does it, and have you not seen him in Mar-a-Lago? They got this sort of ramshackle incident room with a curtain. There's this top secret war going on, and there's a curtain stopping people from hearing about it. It is, and they had a woman there, I can't remember who it was, who in the war room in Mar-a-Lago, because that's where he goes for the weekend, wearing an electronic device on her wrist. And you're not allowed to have phones, no electronic, nothing. And she's there chatting about the war with this thing that can be hacked by China. It's so pathetic. But anyway, it's in Mar-a-Lago mostly. He does it at the weekends anyway. But
back to the Independent, I think, if you see it, the sub after the 2 Air Canada pilots killed in runway crash at New York airport, but then it goes straight into, let me get it up, too old to be hired, too young to retire. Was it just me? 11 ways to stay relevant in the midlife reinvention years, just below the headline of the pilots. Someone maybe should have thought about that. Before they placed that sub there. Yeah,
that's not very well put together, is it? But those 2 Air Canada pilots killed in New York, they crashed into a fire engine. What was that doing on the runway, for goodness sake?
It's just ridiculous. Those pictures were just awful.
Just shocking, yeah.
Just really, really, really awful.
Yeah, I can't. What...
In this day and age...
How can that happen? And apparently the air traffic controller shouted "stop" as they were landing into the fire engine. It just doesn't. I don't know. I can't even get my mind around it. The Daily Express. We must work to eliminate this ancient scourge. Ministers were urged to act to stamp out anti-Semitism after arsonists destroy for the Jewish. I just don't know how you do that.
No, I know.
How do you stamp it out? People will be hateful, people will think what they think, and people will act on what they think. Unless it is the thought police, I don't know how you.
The only way I can show any form of correlation between what's happened in this country and what for other incidents with other religions, and I'm talking about Catholic and Protestants, is the 12th of July and the Orange Walk, etc., running through parts of provocative Catholic parts of Glasgow, or even in Belfast and Northern Ireland, where they have all the crates and they set them alight, and that is clearly provocative. And if it was done for any other religion, it just wouldn't be allowed. But I just don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you can police it. I don't know.
I don't either. I really don't.
What the threshold would be, because there was reports last week that anti-Muslim hate crime was up, and it was mostly reported and dealt with by the police, whereby a lesser percentage of Jewish hate crime was. And, is that because it's not reported as much? Is that because the threshold of it being, was it not anti-Semitic enough? Or was it not deemed to be anti-Semitic? What is anti-Semitic now? If you criticise the state of Israel, it's deemed as anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist in some parts. It's so difficult, really, really difficult. And I think it goes back to, a lot of it does, and I'm not minimising this in any way, shape or form, is the offence that's taken, like the Bob Monkhouse joke, from the repair shop employee from the BBC, and that's why it was pulled. We just don't know. I don't think the stringent, strong, a more robust, legitimate threshold to be met before anything can happen, any difference will be made. I just don't know what the answer is.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I've always said you can't kill an idea, and it's very difficult if people have got that idea to
and then there's part of me as well
it.
that thinks, the odious people like Tommy Robinson and all that lot, right? I would far rather see them and listen to them, right, than drive it all underground, because the minute you drive things under the ground, then you can't see them. You can't act on them. You can't deal with them.
I completely agree. That has always been my stance, is that there shouldn't ever be a no platform.
As odious as it is.
Yeah. As
and
odious as it is.
People.
Yeah, you drive it underground, you've got a whole different set of anger and plotting and hatred, it's better out than in, and also then we know what we're dealing with, right?
Exactly.
I've always believed that. The I paper is UK investigates possible Iran link to arson attacks on Jewish ambulances. I'd be very surprised if it didn't have something to do with what's going on in the Middle East, but we'll leave that to the police to figure that out.
Yeah.
Families face a double cost of living blow by autumn. Rising energy bills and supermarket prices loom as ministers scramble to draw up support plans for the worst affected.
Honestly, the price of food at the moment, I just can't believe it.
I can't either.
And we both cook.
I know.
We buy produce, we cook from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. And even
God
that.
help people who can't.
I know.
And they need to buy pre-made meal. I mean, it's just, honestly. And the fertiliser shortage as well is going to have another impact on our farmers here, because they won't be able to grow enough food.
Yeah, and I went. I know you don't drive, do you? Don't have a car, but
no.
I went to fill mine up earlier on today, actually, because I meant to do it at the weekend and I couldn't be bothered. So I went to do it today, and I was like, "Whoa, that's gone up. That's expensive."
Really?
Yeah, really a lot more expensive. I mean, it is what it is. You need to fill your car up. So, but a lot of drivers apparently now are really changing the way they're driving in order to save on fuel prices. It's very expensive. I mean, thank goodness.
Well, the more cars that are off the road, he'll be happy with that. They're mayor of London.
Yeah, well, he's done everything apart from him having 2 cars wherever he goes that we pay for.
Honestly.
Yeah. So the Daily Telegraph, this is Trump saying, "I will run the straight with the Ayatollah." The Ayatollah, by the way, whose father Trump killed, and his wife and his children, and I think some other members of his family as well were killed by Trump.
So he expects to build a relationship.
He expects to sit
with the
down
son that we haven't seen in public yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're gonna run it together, which would be nice. I can see that
Love
going.
to be a fly in that wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonder if they'll have the curtain from Mar-a-Lago just to. Oh, so then we've got Starmer refuses to commit to timeline on defence spending pledge. I mean,
how many more warnings do we need?
I don't know.
I mean, the HMS Dragon arrived today, 3 weeks late. Embarrassing. We need to spend money. We need to spend it now. It's just ridiculous. Oh, and this is my favourite one. Lifesaver. 11 minutes more sleep every night.
Every night.
Can prevent you from having a heart attack. How do you measure that? 11 more minutes.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm off to have mine now.
Oh, good for you. I won't be having mine because the dogs will be jumping all over me. Claire Muldoon, I adore you. Thank you. Lovely to see you.
I adore you too. Thank you so much, darling angel.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Claire Muldoon there, broadcaster and all-round good egg. So there you go. Now, coming up, it is over to you. You've got to fill this hour because it's all yours. So get ready to give me a call.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. Good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next hour. And if you remember on Wednesday, I set you some homework. Do you remember? I asked you if you would watch Inside the Manosphere. Because I'm doing that as a phone and we're planning it. I think it's going to be... And look, it is all dependent on what Trump does next, right? I mean, who knows? But if the war hasn't escalated by this time tomorrow, we will be doing it as a phone-in. So I want you to watch Inside the Manosphere. If you don't have Netflix, if you can't watch it, then at least perhaps have a look about the Manosphere, what it's like, what is happening in the Manosphere. I watched it, and I think you'll be quite interested in my take on it. It is probably not all what you think it's going to be. I surprised myself when I watched it. So, you know me, I'm fair, and I say it as I see it. And I was fascinated by it, but I wasn't as angry as I thought I would be. There you go, a little taster of what's coming up when we discuss inside the manosphere. So I'd like you to watch it, or at least look into it, so that you can join in the conversation and have an understanding of this world that is going on, where men are talking to other men about what they think women want, or that they know women want, which they clearly don't know what women want. Not all women, anyway. Anyway, I found it fascinating, and I hope you do too, and I hope you find the conversation that we're going to have about it fascinating as well. So please do make sure you do your homework, and we'll talk about that probably tomorrow. Like I said, if world events don't take over. I have to caveat that because we don't know in this crazy, crazy world. But providing nothing more crazy happens, that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. So please do try and catch up with it and join in the conversation. It is fascinating, but I think you'll be even more interested in my take on it. For this morning, though, what we are talking about is kids in pubs. Many pubs now are banning children, banning them. Some are putting the age limit of 14, which is reasonable, right? 14, they're pretty controllable at that age. Not allowing children into a pub. A lot of parents will be upset about that. Okay, well, you know, where am I supposed to go for my Sunday roast? Or where am I supposed if I can't take my kids with me? Well, it's your own fault because you haven't been controlling them, and we're all sick of it. We are all sick of it. And I am a parent, and I was a parent of a child, a young child, but I did not let his behaviour spoil anybody else's time. I knew I had about 45 minutes before he got bored, and then I'd have to go home and take him. Well, usually I took him with me. No, I did. So what is going on with parents right now? And it really actually hacks me off. They sit there and they allow their children to infect everybody else's downtime, their relaxing time. And it's not as if it's cheap. It is not cheap to go out now for a Sunday roast or a lunch or a couple of drinks. It's expensive. And I don't want it ruined by your children running around being obnoxious or screaming, or even babies crying. Sorry, my baby's crying. Take it outside then. I don't care. It's not my baby. I don't care. Nobody does, right? You think that other people like your child. They don't really. Not really. They tolerate it for the 10 minutes they're in your company. Oh, coo, coo, coo. They can't wait to leave. I promise you. I promise you. Nobody likes your child as much as you do. So don't inflict them on other people. What happened to, I mean, like I was saying earlier, when I was a kid, we were locked in the car outside. Didn't do me any harm, as old people say. Yeah, I mean, we weren't even allowed, didn't even think about going into a pub. It just wasn't acceptable. It was an adult space. And what's happened in recent years where these now become a creche, a playgroup, somewhere where loads and loads of little children go and parents think it's okay. Oh, well, I'm eating my lunch. I'm trying to relax as well. Well, you're the one with the child. Control them or go home. I just say ban them. Just ban them. I'd like to ban the parents as well, to be fair. Parents who think it's okay for their children to run around like that. But let me know what you think. Am I being too harsh? Is there a place for children? I mean, look, in Europe, it's different. It's a different world, right? As Claire was saying a moment ago, the weather's better, it's outside, it's culturally more acceptable. Children seem to be way better behaved. Why are British children such brats? Why can't they just sit at the table? Why can't they just behave? Why can't they stop screaming? And what parent thinks it's okay for a child to just run around and do whatever they want with the excuse, well, I'm trying to relax too? Not an excuse. Take your child, go home. Give me a call. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. Why can't modern British children behave in a social setting? They can't even behave in supermarkets. I don't even go to supermarkets anymore because I can't stand them. Horrible. Dragging things off shelves, running around, screaming, treating it like a playground. Can't bear it. Frank is in Bristol. Morning, Frank.
Morning, Petrie.
How are you this morning? All right?
Oh, I'm good, yeah. All the kids are all grown up, so I'm fine.
Yeah, we're all right now. Did you lock them in the car when they were younger?
Anywhere I could put a padlock on, I'd leave them in there.
They were the good old days, weren't they, Frank?
Oh.
They were the good old days. So tell me about kids in pubs.
Well, the thing is, I said to you, the guy that answered the phone, years ago when the kids were small, we were sat in having tea about 5 o'clock in a restaurant just outside of Chicago. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the meal, an elderly guy come up to the table. If he could have stood up straight, he'd have been 7 foot tall.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, "Excuse me, sir," which is unusual to us English because older people like that don't tend to refer to younger people as sir, do they? But this fella did. And he said, "Can I shake your hand, please?" So I stood up. I said, "Yeah, by all means." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, it's been over 40 years since I've seen a young family sat around a table eating properly."
Wow.
And I looked around this restaurant. They were under the table, over the table, on the table. They were chasing each other. They were scrapping. Their parents were either ignoring them or shouting and swearing at them. And this fella said, "Where are you from?" Because obviously the accent. I said, "Oh, England." Oh, well, yeah, you're still different. I said, no, believe you me, there's plenty of people that are like this. But it was one of the proudest moments of my life at that stage.
And you just thought you were just sat there and this was normal for you, that your kids behaved?
Absolutely normal. And some years later, one of the kids said, you were pretty easygoing, Dad, as a parent compared to some. But why were you always so strict about table manners and around the table? Well, number one is how I was brought up. Children should be seen and honoured. But, table manners was a really, really big thing in our grandparents' house and my house. But I said, look, part of my job is to prepare you for the future. Now, what you don't realise at the moment is you never know whose table you're going to be sat at. Your entire career might balance on your behaviour around somebody else's table.
Yeah. One
day. Because you watch somebody eat, you know what their personality and their character's like.
I agree, yeah.
It really does show, and I do believe that's how it is. Plus, when they would come home from school, I would insist on we would have our dinner or tea around the table, all of us. Me, the wife, and the 3 kids. When asked why, I said, well, the table is a social gathering as much as it is food. And we've all had little niggles all day. Well, if we get them all out around the table every night, they don't build into arguments, do they? We vent everything in a civilized way. So we learn to communicate. We learn to talk. People don't realise how social being around a table is. And I've ran nightclubs, I've ran pubs, I've ran restaurants. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I can remember in this nightclub I owned, I put a brand new carpet down on one of the floors. Opened the club. Within 20 minutes, we had a gang of students in, and the first thing one of them did was drop his cigarette onto my new carpet. Oh. I took him by the ass of his trousers and I put him straight to the door. I said, what do you think you're doing? Do you do that at home? You know, we're in my home.
So disrespectful.
It is unbelievable. I had an employee, and you know, let's be blunt about it, Petrie. He was brown nosing, is what he was doing, but he invited us to his house for dinner.
Right.
And so I said, well, okay, come on then. I said, he's after a pay rise or something. I don't know what he's after, but we'll go. They never owned a dinner table. He expected my children to sit on his floor and eat their dinner off of his floor.
What?
They expected me and my wife to put it on our lap. Yeah, and I said, look.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I'm not being stroppy here. You know, and I'm not a two-bob snob. I said, but we don't eat like that. We eat round a table. Don't you have a table? He said, well, what's the point in that? And I thought, that sums you up. I said, well, you know, I'll see you in the morning. I got something for you. It'll all be prepared when you come in tomorrow. And it was his P45. Oh. I said, I don't want you here.
Really? You basically got rid of him because of the way he...
Yeah. I said, if your personal life is that slovenly, I said, you're not going to be too concerned about what you do in my office, in my business, are you?
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, and it's, you know, people look and they, oh, you're right over the top, you are. No, I'm not over the top. I just expect a certain standard of behaviour. You know, it's...
And that does some, you know, a lot of people maybe don't choose to have a table because they sit in front of the television and eat, or...
Yeah, that's what they do. And tables are there for, like I said, call me old school, call me whatever names they want to call me. I'm sure there's people out there listening to this now that thinks I'm a bit over the top, but tables, meal times are about communication, it's about socialising, it's about learning what's going on each day with everyone.
Well, and that's the other thing, is learning how to have conversations. You know, I was astounded.
Communicate.
Yeah, when my son was younger, you know, sort of like 14, 15, where that's the age they're bringing all their mates around the house, right? I was astounded how few of his friends could look me in the eye and even say hello.
Yeah,
I just found that remarkable that these young people hadn't been taught. And there were some of them that were brilliant, obviously, and they would have a chat and, you know, whatever. But some of them just couldn't look me in the eye and couldn't. And I just thought, well, how have you been brought up that you can't have a quick conversation with somebody?
Yeah,
I find that really bizarre.
Well, when I was a kid, if we were watching the TV, whatever it was, and some friends of my dad's turned up, first thing he would do is turn the TV off.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and we'd sit there and we'd all communicate, we'd talk, and that's how we all were when I was growing up. We spoke to each other. And my granddad, he used to come out of his house and put a chair at the front gate, and we'd all gather round. I know we're talking the 1970s, but we'd sit there and we'd talk about what's gone on during the day and what we're going to do tomorrow. So, you know, I'd sit there and be told quite bluntly how stupid I was, but you did have a point. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's all gone, and I just think maybe it's electronic devices that children are looking at.
Let me take this on to a slightly different level here. Madeleine McCann. Now, she was abandoned. Those 3 children were abandoned in a strange country, in a strange town, in a strange hotel, in a strange room. Why were they abandoned? Because Mummy and Daddy wanted us time. Adult time, grown-up time, on our own. Now, if you've got children, your priority are those children.
You forfeit the right. I agree.
That's right. And if you haven't put enough effort in, those children were too young anyway, but if you haven't put the effort in to socialise them and educate them, you can't just abandon them in a room. You can't just walk away from a hotel room and leave them there.
I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have made that decision. I know I wouldn't have done.
And the point most people have made since that poor little thing went missing is if that would have been a couple of tattooed covered roughters out the back end of a council estate, they would have been arrested for abandonment.
That point has been made many times. I also heard somebody say if it was a winning lottery ticket, they wouldn't have left it in the room as well. Some people have commented.
But without getting us on a downer with that kind of conversation, but yeah, well, why don't people? I've had conversations with people, and they've said, "Oh, I can't wait for them to get out and leave." So what do you mean get out and leave? They're your children. Yeah, but look how they behave. I said, well, whose fault is that?
Look how they behave.
I bought a restaurant in the middle of Bristol, and we tidied it up and got it all lovely and everything. And my brother, or late brother now, he said, "Oh, well," I said, "No, John, you haven't been in there yet, but you're barred." He said, "What do you mean I barred?" I said, "I wouldn't expect anyone on an evening out with their wife for an anniversary or something to sit next to you." I said, "You eat like a pig." "Oh, here we go again." I said, "Yeah, here we I wouldn't want to sit by you. And I don't expect other people to. So don't waste your time and your money coming down because you ain't coming in. You've got no manners. Simple as that." And he never did come in.
Wow.
But he wouldn't have been allowed in anyway. You know, he said, you go to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to bring your money to me and spend it with me so that my business can succeed. And I sit you next to someone with no table manners?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? And actually, manners, it's quite an old-fashioned term, isn't it? That you've got no manners, or manners maketh man, or, it seems like manners don't matter anymore. I mean, we're supposed to be polite, we're supposed to, all of that. The conversation, Tetra, goes off in many directions, doesn't it? You take a look at, but they must express themselves. Oh, really? They have to. A child has to express itself however it feels like, wherever it is, whatever time of the day or night. No. Oh, really? I'll express them, all right. My wife had a friend, and her son was about 6, I think, something like that. As it happens, he's turned into a lovely young man, but his mother was getting him ready to take him home, and she said, "Daniel, stay still." She's trying to do his shoes up. "I can't repeat on the radio what you said to her. Go away." Not those words, but "go away, you this, that, and the other." Without a second's thought, one of my left hand went out. I took him up in the air by the shirt. His trousers came down with the right hand, and my hand went round his backside, and I put my hand round his backside. He was so shocked he couldn't make a sound. I bet she was as well, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah, the mother was as well. And as she's going out the door with him in her arms, she said his father's name was Peter. She said, "Oh, Peter won't be happy about this." I said, "Well, bring Peter round and I'll do it to him." I said, "You may find that acceptable in your house for him to talk to his mother, you, that way. I don't want my children thinking that's acceptable."
No, good point. Although you'd be arrested for that these days, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, it's not that many years ago, I suppose, but I don't know, about 20 years ago now. But, of course, my wife said, you shouldn't have done. I said, "What do you mean I shouldn't have done that? I would have had that done to me by half the street. They'd have been queuing up outside."
I mean, that is the other thing. The street, there was always like, "I'll tell your mum," and you say you behaved yourself. That's all gone as well. Like you said, Frank, this goes off in lots of different directions. Wonderful to talk to you. I've only got to go because I've got to hit a break, but I love talking to you, Frank. Thank you very much indeed. Quick break, back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour, and we are talking about pubs banning children, claiming entitled parents don't know how to look after them. I'm not even sure it's that, it's just they can't be bothered. It's the attitude of, well, I'm here to relax as well, you know. I'm here to have a drink. It's like, yeah, but don't bring your blooming kids with you. Nobody wants them here. Nobody. I hate it particularly as well. Oh, gosh, when it's I'm going to say this. It's a group of mums on a social. Oh, my God. With their kids. They're the pits. The worst. Sorry, you're the worst. You are the worst. You are the worst behaved as well. Because you always sit around a couple of tables with your drink of whatever it is you're drinking, getting a bit tiddly, and your kids are a nightmare. And there's a couple of you clutching babies that are screaming, and others, oh my God, changing a baby on a table where people have got to eat. The next people that come can't even be bothered to go to the loo to change your baby. It's disgusting. What is wrong with you? Oh, well, you know, I'm entitled. No, you're not. Or changing a baby on a chair. Don't it smells. It's disgusting. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody needs to see that. Nobody has paid for their lunch to have somebody changing their baby. What is wrong? This is what's wrong with the society at the moment. It's that attitude of, well, I'm here to relax. I'm here to have, you know, drinks with my friend. You're the worst. If I walk into a pub and I see a couple of tables with mums around it, I go somewhere else. I can't bear you. You're the pits. Got that off my chest. Callie is in Devon. Hello, Callie.
Hi there, yeah. Yeah, what you just said, I mean, I hadn't seen that happen.
Oh, I
mean,
have.
that would just, like, put me off my food, I think.
It's disgusting.
But,
selfish, rude.
I my take, I mean, I agree that they should all be banned, kids from everywhere, not just pubs, but, yeah, everywhere. But I would say if people really insist on bringing them into these places, they should definitely be on leads, 100% on leads.
The children on leads?
Yeah, on leads.
Yeah.
At least. And I would extend that to men in pubs as well, I've got to say. I just think they need to be on leads too. And I'm not even joking, actually, because their behaviour, I mean, I'm going to be sexist here, I don't care. Their behaviour, I live in Devon, I don't know, I haven't been, I am from London originally, but I haven't been to a London pub for a long time. But in Devon, I mean, their male behaviour is not great in some pubs. So, yeah, put them on leads too.
Well, we'd all be tripping over the leads. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with children on leads. I don't have a problem with children on leads. But as far as I'm concerned, dogs behave way better than children do in pubs.
Well, yeah, they do. But, you know, you just reminded me, actually, that I was actually, like, in a pub the other day, and there was... I mean, I love pubs. I love the hearth and the dog. I boycott any pub which doesn't allow dogs. I won't do pubs which don't allow dogs. And but I was in there, and there was this blooming kid in the pub, and they'd given it the puppy, right? And it's looking after the puppy, and the puppy was great. Don't get me wrong, lovely puppy. But you know, they left this kid in charge of the bloody puppy, so the kid wasn't taking the puppy out, wasn't doing what it should do. And the puppy weed on the floor in the pub, you know, on the carpet. And so I would have then... But you know what I didn't do? And I was walking past when this puppy was going on the floor, and what I wanted to do was just grab the puppy and put it outside, because obviously when a dog's just weed, the thing with toilet training is you put it straight out.
Yeah,
The toilet, right? That's what I used to do with mine. But it's not my dog, and it's not my child, right? And the trouble is, these days... if you say, you can't even speak to somebody else's child these days. I mean, well, I don't know. I find children really weird today. I've got to say that you can't speak to a child. I mean, if you say hello to a child, they just stare at you. They don't respond. They've not been taught to respond.
That's very true.
It's weird. I
Yeah.
just find it really rude, actually. It seems really rude, but it's because they don't know how to interact at all, do they?
No. They really don't, actually, and I think maybe it's because there's a lot of them are brought up on screens.
Yeah.
And they don't have conversations with their parents or whatever. You know, it's just there's no real conversations. Or, you know, we were always taught to. You know, my mother used to do some volunteering work in an old people's home, and she'd take us in, and we had to be polite and have conversations with these older people. And to be honest with you, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, we all did. I mean,
yeah.
I remember. I mean, before the days when they started scaring us about the strange men, which turned out to be rubbish anyway, because it's mostly people that
you know
that attack the child. Yeah, but I mean, I remember before the days we were all scared about the strange men and the here and there and whatever. I remember making friends with this very old Polish guy who was in a local home or care home. I think he was ex-war, you know, serviceman. He was then living here. And I must have been about 8 years old, and he must have been, I suppose, in his 70s or something. And we used to sit on the bench and have these long chats. And he was great. I mean, he was a friend, and it was all very innocent. You know, nothing like that. But nowadays, that would be seen as creepy, wouldn't it? It would be.
I suppose it would. I mean, I remember befriending when my father once fell out of I think it was a cherry tree and landed on his elbow. So he completely smashed his elbow, and he was in hospital for quite a long time, having a new elbow built and stuff like that. In the bed next to him, when we used to go and visit him, there was a Russian guy who had broken both his legs. Right. And I used to spend all of my visiting time chatting to the Russian guy who told me that he'd fallen off the moon. And I remember him to this day. He fell off the moon, and that's how he broke both his legs. And I completely believed everything he said. And I used to spend my whole time, again, I was probably about maybe a bit older, maybe 10. But I literally, Dad, boring. I'm going to go and talk to this guy over here. And that, you know, that was one of the gifts that I was given as a child, you know, this sort of vague parenting that we got in the 70s. We weren't, you know, we were independent. We were more independent, right?
Well, also we were outside a lot playing, and there wasn't, you know, we were sort of.
We built resilience as well. We built resilience, and you had to talk to adults because you'd end up at some random adult's house for a sandwich with your friends, and so you had to talk to adults. We had to. We were more. I think we were just more independent. And
random adults would hit you. I mean, like, although I mean, in the street, if you did something wrong, they'd give you a slap, and they were allowed to. I mean, I honestly think that. I just think that. I mean, I'm not anti-smacking kids because there's a big difference between smack and beating, and I think that. I just don't understand. I mean, obviously, to give the parents a break for a minute, they've been told they're not allowed to smack their kids now, are they? Or is it illegal now? Is it? I can't remember if it's illegal or not.
They're going to make it illegal, but they're allowed to smack them as long as they don't leave a mark, and there's lots of caveats around it,
But I just think there is too much state interference, nanny state, with you should do that. And I think, to me, it's like parents are probably afraid now to discipline their own kids in case they do it wrong or they get arrested for saying the wrong thing to their child. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
And I also think the problem is that they want to be friends with their children.
That as well,
and you're not your child's friend. You know, you have. You know, I always used to say that to my boy. I'm not your friend.
No,
you know,
no.
I'm your mother, and you only get one of those. So, you know, I don't want to be your friend. I mean, we're friends now. Okay, he's 28. We get on brilliantly, but I'm still his mother. You know, if I give him a look, he knows, right? They all know.
Because I think of the age when you get young parents, it's sometimes quite often there's not such a big age that they end up as friends. But I know what you mean. There's the type who, but I've often envied people who have parents like that. To be honest, like the ones that have grown up with, you know, they're very close to their parents in a way that I never was. You know what I'm saying? They seem to sort of have some kind of relationship them on a level which I could have never had, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, my son and I were always close, but I was still his mum. You know, and what I said went. You know, there was no negotiation. This isn't a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm the parent and you're the child, and that is not. That there is no negotiation. But now he completely values that, because he knows that the one person he can turn to is his mum, right? Because I'm his protector as well. So I'm never going to be, I don't always agree with him. And we were talking about the inside the manosphere yesterday, actually, my son and I. And he said, you would have never let me behave like that. And I said, no, I wouldn't. He said, and also, if I was homophobic or I was racist, you would have come down on me like a ton of bricks. And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he knew that.
Well, how old is it? I mean, was he brought up because? Do you think that? Because I really have this thing about, they keep saying, oh, we should ban social media for children, but my point is that that's not the issue. What I think is the issue has been is, why the hell did anyone ever give a kid a smartphone? This is an adult device, So it's like.
Again, he said that he never had. I don't think he got a smartphone until he went off to uni, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's probably a bit older than, how old is he?
He's 28 now.
28, yeah. But kids nowadays, they've got smartphones from dot. And to me, it's like, what is there for them to grow up for? They've been given the full adult world at age, 5 now, or whatever they're getting.
Yeah, they shouldn't have they should have dumb phones. They should just, if you need a phone just to call your parents, you have a little, dumb phone, as they're known, and definitely not a smartphone. I wouldn't have given him a smartphone anyway. I just wouldn't have done. The amount of times that his phones ended up in the washing machine because he never took them out of his pockets. And I said to him, that was his job. You clear your pockets. I'm not checking your pockets. So anything that goes in there goes in the wash. It used to make me laugh just to hear his phone going round and round and round, and him crying, oh, my phone's in there. So, well, you should have checked your pockets.
Because, I mean, there are sport. I mean, like we were saying, they're so spoiled. A lot of them, I just like, they've got everything now. They've got these phones, and they've just got access to everything before they've even, and it's just total spoiling of children. But I never hear anyone suggest that we shouldn't give them. People talk about, social media, they shouldn't have. But no, it's a smartphone. It's an adult device. What are they doing with them?
I agree. I completely agree. I wouldn't even now, if he was a kid, if I had him now, there's no way he'd get a smartphone. No way at all. Callie, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm late to the break, so I'm going to take it now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour, and we're talking about, basically, why is it that British children can't behave, just can't behave. It started off by us talking about banning them from pubs, and I say, good. I'm with Muldoon on this. Any pub that says child friendly, I avoid. I'm going to avoid that. Other people's children, I'm sorry, just not for me. Andrew sent a message saying, I'm a regular at my local social club. And there are many parents who let their children run riot, running around and throwing toys, etc. One day, another regular couple who I know very well blamed me for their son taking the cue chalk off the pool table while I was playing a game. He was eating the chalk. Did you give it to him? I would have given it to him. Gary says, parents now... See, here we go, Gary. And I always were like that, me and Gary. Parents nowadays want to be friends to their kids. My mum only had to look a certain way and I knew. Yeah, me too. Some kids shouldn't just be leashed but muzzled. I'd go to any restaurant, bars or holidays that were child-free. My levels of tolerance for people, never mind children, are dwindling with age. Gary, I am such a recluse in my spare time. My perfect weekend is if I can avoid any social occasion and stay at home with my dogs. And my cat. That's it. That is my perfect weekend, which I've just had. Hill says, no bad kids, just bad parents. Just like no bad dogs, just bad owners. My mum just had to give us a look once. If I do that to my son, even to this day, I see him shudder. Sheldon, hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, Petrie, my darling. How are you?
I'm extremely well. How are you?
I'm all right, sweetheart. Okay. Oh, kids today, yes? Anyway, I've got a theory about this. I think it's to do with the entitlement culture that their current parents have. When I was a youngster, just as you've heard from the other people there, if my parents looked at me sideways, I knew exactly what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my dear wife and I now have loads of grandchildren, and we have great-grandchildren. So this is a different situation, because now we're into great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
Our grandchildren were just like my children. By the time they were 12 years old, you could take them to a restaurant. They knew what a steak was. They knew what a fish and chips were. They knew how to have a small glass of wine. And they grew up in a culture where they could go abroad and behave themselves. However, the recent generation are absolutely feral. And they are feral because they are entitled to be feral.
This is your great-grandchildren?
My great-grandchildren. They are beautiful children. They are wonderful to look at. They are stunning and loved by all sorts of different friends that they have. But they are domestically as out of control as they are in public.
Gosh.
And these are little ones aged from 3 to 5.
Why? Well, is it their parents?
I think their parents have brought them into an entitlement culture where the parents themselves believe that they're entitled to do anything they wish. They're all little princes and princesses.
Yeah.
They are not princes and princesses. They are little children who need to be brought into life's ways of well-being and behaviour that will look after their lives for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. It's your duty as a parent to teach children how to behave so that they can behave as adults. So they know what to do, what to say.
What I mean by out of control is they will come into our home and they will take things off shelves and they'll put them in the wrong place and they'll run around and smash things or do things which is out of order. And it's so funny to watch them the way they are. It is not funny. No. Now, these are the type of children you were referring to in public life, in pubs, etc., because they are out of control. Now, if they were very comfortable where they were and quiet, as no meltdowns in supermarkets, no meltdowns in pubs, no meltdowns anywhere, they'd be fine. But their parents are as anarchic as them.
Yeah, and you see that with the parents. Like I said, these women these mums, groups of mums who go out and to have a few drinks. You see it mostly in the summer. Changing their babies on the table or on the seat next to people who are
absolutely.
And it's that sense of entitlement. It is. And I think you're right that these kids are now believing that they can do what they want. They see their parents do it, right? So and they're never told off.
And you can imagine what will happen when they start tapping the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Instant gratification all the time.
Yeah, that's it. Instant gratification. It's a good point. It's a very good point. Nobody waits for anything now, do they?
No, nothing. And I find it very disturbing because I don't think there's anything that any teacher... My son's a retired headmaster, and my daughter looks after disabled children at another school. And I don't know how they deal with this situation that's going on at the moment with this particular generation. They do tell me they find it very difficult. And I believe sincerely from my heart and soul that these children are wonderful human beings. It's just that they can't get any guidance from those who should be disciplining and looking after them. When I say disciplining, in the best of ways.
Yeah.
Not in the nastiest sense, but in the best of ways. Educate through normal education at home. Behavioural patterns, all sorts of things. They lack empathy as well.
Yeah.
Because they are going to grow up empathetic.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that the parents lack empathy and thought for other people, and so the children do as well.
Yes.
They don't care. They literally don't care.
No.
And I do find that if I go to a pub with dogs, they're so much better behaved, and the owners are so much better behaved.
I can tell you something. I've seen some beautifully behaved children in pubs, little charmers. But I've seen more charming dogs and other animals in pubs, including cats sometimes, who happens to be the landlord's cat, who are much more charming than those feral, poor little kids.
No, you're right, because actually the parents are not doing them any favours. They're not helping them. Because if they grow up with a sense of entitlement and then they go for a job, they go for a job and they don't get it, imagine how painful that's going to be, because they believe they're entitled to it.
Exactly. But on the other hand, how are they ever going to get the job if they don't know how to behave in front of the person they're being interviewed by? Exactly that. The parents think they're doing them a favour, letting them... What are they bringing themselves up? What's it called? There's a new term for it. Yeah. Self-parenting or something. They let their children decide. Yeah.
Like, no, absolutely not. No way at all. Sheldon, I adore you. Send my love to Faith, won't you?
I adore you too. Faye's in bed.
Oh, Faye's in bed. Send her my love, won't you, when you see her? Quick break. Back in a sec.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good morning to you. This is Talk and it's Petrie and I'm with you till the top of the hour. We're talking about the behaviour of children in today's society. Kaz has sent a message saying, my daughter is your son's age and we regularly go for a meal out in our local pub. Any kids running about, one of us will stick our foot out and trip them up. Kids sprawled on the carpet, karma. Showed kiddo the manosphere as part of our homework. Look forward to tomorrow. Well done, Kaz. So you have done your homework. If you're late to the party, your homework is to watch Inside the Manosphere. It's a Louis Theroux documentary. It's available on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, then just look up the Manosphere and just have a little bit of knowledge about what this is. I'll explain it all. I'm hoping that we do it tomorrow. Just, you know, it is dependent on the news flow. So providing that nothing catastrophic has happened tomorrow, we will be discussing Inside the Manosphere at midnight. And I do think that some of you will be a little bit surprised by my take on what I think and what I saw. A little bit of a tease for you there. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for that. Angie says, I'd rather go to a dog-friendly pub than a child-friendly one. 100 times out of 100. Absolutely no problem at all. And this one from Phil in Chelmsford. He said, I was recently in a restaurant in Brentwood in Essex, that's where my dad used to live, where a young child was running around underneath tables and causing chaos for both punters and staff. When I complained to the father, I was told that if I didn't shut up, not the exact words, he would meet me in the car park when I left and stab me. With parents like that, what chance do these feral kids have? That's a very good point. And I know that's the thing, is you can't interfere anymore. You can't say, oh, can you shut your kid up, because they get upset. Martin said, so more restrictions for pubs if kids are not allowed. Bad parents should be dealt with, though. Yeah, well, but pubs, it's up to them. It's up to the pubs to decide. And they may just decide, actually, that people like me are more likely to go there if they haven't got kids there. And I probably buy more wine, to be fair. And Joanna says, my 3 daughters from 18 months could sit quietly in any space, church, pub, restaurant, etc., with a toy or a drawing book because they were trained. My grandchildren are the same, so I think blanket banning is unfair on those that can behave themselves. The trouble is you don't know which ones can and which ones can't. That's why it's got to be a blanket ban. It takes time, patience and training. They don't suddenly become good children. Schools now have new children, not even toilet trained, with no social skills arriving at school because parents can't be bothered. And it's the same with everything. Zero discipline, manners or consideration of others. I don't know how teachers manage them. And that's from Joanna in Salisbury. Yeah, can't disagree with that either. I really can't. Paul is in Hammersmith. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hello, Petrie. Haven't spoke to you for a long time.
A long time. Where have you been?
It's not Hammersmith. It's Wendell, isn't it?
It's Wendell. Yeah, I always think of you as where. Why is it? I don't know where Wendell. Are we Hammersmith, Shepherd's Bush, or I don't know.
Well, I'm Wendell Park.
You're Wendell Park. I was there just yesterday with my boys. So there you go.
I think we might frequent maybe a pub or two that are very close to us. But I must say, you do look very like Kill Bill Volume 3 this evening. I don't know what's going on.
I wish I had her body.
Normally when I phone up, the conversations are pretty like they're dramatic or like it's something really bad. But like, I suppose this is a bit light-hearted, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, unless you go to the Eagle. Do you go to the Eagle?
I don't. I have had roast dinner at the oh my God, what is the other pub up the road? The oh my
Princess.
God, help me out there. It's the Duchess. The Duchess.
Oh, the Duchess. Oh yeah, that's a good pub actually. That's quite a nice pub.
They do an okay roast dinner, but they don't know how to make proper roast potatoes that are crispy. But it's okay. I don't mind it. But I was there not long ago when a group of children came in, and I just wanted to go there and just have something to eat. Like, I might have been a little bit hungover, and I just wanted to have something to eat and come home. And about 20 kids come in with, I don't know whether they're minders or their parents, and I was like, oh my God. And I made one of them faces, you know, where you look round and you talk. And I don't know whether they, the parents notice or what, but what can you do, do you know? I think I even pulled, like, it wasn't even that cold. I pulled my hood over my head. I just wanted to eat my dinner and leave.
I know, and that's the problem is you get these big groups. I mean, I think that the Eagle, I can't go there now because of the children that are there.
You're barred from there, aren't you?
It's just too many kids. I mean, maybe this is a good advert for them.
Really?
Yeah, too many kids in there, especially in the summer. It's a nightmare. Can't bear it.
It's got a lovely garden there, I must admit. It's got a lovely garden.
Has got a nice garden, and I used to go there a lot, but I can't bear it now. I just can't. I walk past it. And, of course, we've lost the one on 7 Stars. That's closed again. So we're a bit short of...
I think that's turned into a pizza, or it was a pizza place.
They were good, though.
I did have a frequent, a local earlier, which, do you know what, I'm gonna say it's the Raven, right? It's a lovely...
Oh, yeah, I know the Raven, yeah.
Traditional pub, and the staff are brilliant there, and it was very quiet. It's a Monday anyway. And
it's tiny, isn't it?
It's well, yeah, it is tiny. But there's hardly anyone in pubs on a Monday, or maybe through the week, to be honest. I don't know where it's leading to. But kids, if I come back to kids, they haven't worked it out, have they? Because when I was a child... right, and you was coming back from your nan's or your aunt's or whoever's house in your dad's car with your mum, if you was quiet and you knew your dad was going to have a little beer on the way home, there might be a chance you was going to get a McDonald's as well. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. A little bit of bribery. Bribery works wonders with children.
Yeah, it was silent bribery, but it's like, oh, Dad, if he stopped off at the pub, he was going to have a bit of happiness, and you knew you was going to get a McDonald's. And I think it probably tasted a bit better back then, maybe. I don't know.
I certainly, in my memory, it did. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think that it's such a shame that children. I don't think children should be in pubs, particularly in the evening. I don't think it's a place for children. I don't think, even if people aren't getting drunk, there's adult conversations going on. There's, if you're with me, swearing going on. You know,
well, that's exactly it. It's the adult conversations. I mean, look, people swear or they express their views, don't they? It goes on. I mean, look, I suppose back in the day, I had friends that acted like children in the pub, but you know, I don't think I was one of them. I definitely wasn't one of them.
No, but I mean, we were, like I said, I'm older than you. I was sort of locked in the car with my brothers fighting and eating crisps.
Locked in a car with no windows down.
Yeah, no, it was a bit like that. Honestly, it really was. It was a disaster. But I tell you where they do good roast potatoes, by the way.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
The Princess Vic.
The Princess? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I popped in there once to do the quiz, and it was...
I love that pub.
The quiz was too much.
Was it?
I think it went on for about 3 hours. I think we left like after an hour.
They do a decent roast, great Yorkshire puddings, and the potatoes are decent as well.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to see what that's about. That's for sure.
Yeah, give it a go.
I just wish we had a Toby Carvery. I know people say, "Oh, it's a chain stuff." It's not. Do you know what? I love a Toby Carvery. I love it.
Okay, is that all you can eat as well?
If it was up to me, Petrie, I'd eat it all day, every day.
That would be my last meal. I'd say if I was being put to death, would be a roast dinner.
Someone said a joke. They said, like, to a woman who